Dit is Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series ronde 7, die finale van hierdie seisoen. Ek is JP Sonnekus en saam met my in die kommentaar is Josh Breen. Good evening, Josh. How are you, mate?
Howdy, howdy. I'm doing well. How about yourself there, Joe?
Yeah, not too bad. And for those who didn't understand, welcome to Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series round 7. It is the last round of the season. We are at the wonderful Kyalami. And that was an Afrikaans introduction with the sole purpose of pissing off John, which I think I have succeeded in. So yeah, welcome. Looking forward to some good racing. How was your final round of the season last night?
I had a blast last night, man. It was probably some of the best racing all season. So much side by side. I think the reverse grid brings a lot to the series, and a bit of excitement, a lot of safety car. But I mean, hey, it's the last round of the season. You got to go for it, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. When you say brings a lot to the series, you mean a lot of death, pretty much.
Well, I think sometimes death, but also just a lot of excitement because there's more passing involved. And I think because like the 20-minute race, it's pretty important, obviously, for the next round. But I think 40 minutes, that's a lot of time, like for yourself, for example, to carve your way through the pack. So yeah, I think it just presents a lot of good racing, really. Just
Yeah, absolutely. I always enjoy the reverse grids. It's fun going through the pack, and you always get like a couple of people who sort of match and chase through the pack around you, and it's tricky trying to find those overtakes, especially at a track like Kyalami where overtaking isn't quite as easy. I mean, there's opportunities, but when you're fairly closely matched on pace, it's quite difficult to manage an overtake. So yeah, last night was fun. There was quite a few big incidents and sends here and there that didn't work out quite that well. And if you're able to avoid the death on a reverse grid, then you can definitely make up some positions.
absolutely. And yeah, I think a lot of it, like, you sort of have to calculate, is it worth the battle? For example, like, I think it was Reynolds and the Nissan was coming through the pack, and I defended for a few corners. I knew it was just going to end up costing both of us time, so I ended up just, like, letting him through at turn one, like, not defending, just letting him go through, and then I managed to follow him through for a couple more positions. So sometimes you just got to calculate what's worth fighting and what isn't.
Yeah, exactly. It comes down, we discuss it quite a lot in our team speak. It's just that racecraft and a little bit of like logic thinking, like I'm just going to hold this guy up or I can follow him through. And as you said, you benefited from actually letting him through. But, you know, sometimes people don't want to give up that position, and which just entirely their right. It just doesn't always make sense as the smartest decision.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like I said, it's just you got to calculate it right, because there were some guys like Lachlan Nichols and Lamborghini was just that little bit faster than me, and we had such an epic battle for like, oh, it was at least a good 4 laps and a lot of side by side around sunset. Even it was amazing. So great racing last night.
Yeah, it certainly was quite the send-off for Split Sunset, but Split Sunset being done, we are currently in Split Ascari, where we don't really have a championship battle going, especially in the pro class, with Matt Lamb being absolutely dominant this season. He's been on pole whenever he's been able to qualify. So he has 6 poles out of 6 races. Nobody has been able to challenge him. But in the Pro-Am class, we do have a little bit of a battle going on with Austin McNeil, who is on 320 points, 311 net points, with Shane McLaws 272 and Connor Hind on 262. So those are the points including their drop rounds. So there is certainly some opportunities there to potentially steal the class win with some good results. And then in the AM class, we have James Lawrence on 99 points. He's quite a way ahead of Nick Davidson, who is on 42, but Derek Nagel is just behind that on 34. So definitely some opportunities in the Pro-Am and AM classes here to make up positions in the championship.
100%, and it's looking like the weather is going to be pretty good, at least for race 1 at this stage, for qualifying for sure. But who do you think could potentially see pole for race 2? Sort of scraping the way into the top 12 for race 1. Have you got any predictions for that?
I mean, that's quite a lofty prediction to try and make, seeing as we haven't even finished qualifying 1. But if I'm gonna be brave and call it and say Benjamin Piper will be on reverse grid pole.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't know about pole in particular, but I think Brad McDonald in the Ferrari, he hasn't set a valid quali lap yet, but he was very racy in the Enduro, and so we could see a strong showing from him. Also, like you said, Benjamin Piper, Connor Hine, no doubt will be up there. hopefully we'll see him near the top somewhere. And yeah, it'll be awesome to watch Kyruden, Herbert, Britt, and Matty Lamb carve through the field race 2 potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. That's taking into account surviving race 1, which is never a given with especially turn 3 and 4 here. Turn 1 obviously is the kink, so that's unfortunately not really a corner, but turn 2 is actually not too bad because it's nice and wide, but then it completely narrows into turn 3, and you have that sausage curve of death on the right hand side that just annihilates people into other people. So that's where we generally see a fair amount of death, as we saw last night. So hopefully the front runners can avoid that. Well, hopefully everybody can avoid that, but specifically those front runners, I think we're going to have 5 or 6 cars here with Britt, Kyruden, Herbert, Lamb. Bettiger has been really, really pacey the last couple of rounds. So Doug Wilson is up there as well. I reckon we could have a very, very tight battle up the front. But of course, Matty Lamb and Paul Britt won the Kyalami 9-hour in that particular Porsche, so they will be very, very difficult to beat.
Yeah, Paul Britt with a 140.555 at the moment, so looking very racy, currently P1. But yeah, it'll be cool to see whether we go 3, 4, 5 wide into, well, turn 2, like you said, the kink really isn't a real corner. But yeah, hopefully everyone can filter through nicely and we'll get the first lap in the books nice and clean for Ascari.
As we see Reagan Herbert speaking about clean racing, that is not how you take Sunset, mate. And that is certainly a damaged Ferrari. He does have enough time to get back out on track and potentially improve on an already good lap. But yeah, Matty Lamb coming across the line now. Will he finally set a valid lap time? He doesn't. Still not a valid lap from Matt Lamb, so he'll be looking to get on the board sooner rather than later.
Yep, he should have time for at least one more after this current one.
I
Possibly
had the
2.
same issue last night where I waited a little bit to go out, so I had perfectly clean track, and then I invalidated 2 laps in a row, and I was like, well, this isn't the way I planned it. But then fortunately, you finally get a lap together. As Christopher Taylor goes up into P3 in that Honda with a 141.777, lucky for some, especially for him.
Yeah, he'll be, if he holds that position for now, he'll be looking very racy off row number 2 on the grid.
Yeah, I suspect we will see a fair amount of improvement. I suspect Herbert will definitely do a better lap than that. Bettiger is certainly capable of a 40. Pretty sure Kyruden will certainly get into the 40s as well. Charles Clark, there's a lot of drivers here that are capable of low 41s to high 40s, so hopefully they can get a lap together.
And this might be a little bit of a silly question, but do you personally prefer to be on the left or the right hand side coming up to turn 1? Turn 2. Just because
Well,
it does go to the right not long after that, and it can be a bit of chaos. Do you think it's better on the inside or the outside?
generally, I would prefer to be on the inside. It's just because you can't get squeezed out on the exit. Whereas if you're on, as Matty Lamb has put it in a wall, he has yet to set a lap, and he will not have enough time.
Ooh.
So he will be doing a last to first challenge, completely self-inflicted at this stage.
Yeah, that's not so good for our reigning leader of Split Ascari.
So he is continuing and going to try and do a lap with a rather second-hand Porsche.
Yes.
I'm sure he will still be able to get into the 41s with a broken Porsche, but that's not a great start to the final round for him.
Yeah, I would say that would even have suspension damage. That was a pretty nasty hit to the front right of that Porsche. But it does make for great racing and great commentary opportunities as Honda gets nice and sideways around Cheetah there, coming around the final corner.
It's such
Matty
a...
Nichols.
It's Kyalami is one of my top 3 favorite tracks on this game, quite comfortably. But Cheetah is just, it's like a consistent butt clench every time you approach it, because you just know death is imminent if you just get it wrong by half a centimeter.
Absolutely, and it's even trickier when you're 0.2 behind another car and you can't really even see where you're going. You're just hoping they're gonna hit the apex, because you got to put a little bit of faith in the car ahead when racing's that tight at the beginning.
Yeah, no, I think it was Herod and somebody else and Scout last night who had a little bit of a coming together going through there, and it was quite nerve-wracking getting past it without dying. But we have had a couple of people move up. Wilco Apreciado up into P6, Fab Morass up into P7. So Reagan Herbert and Kellen Gibbons and a couple of the faster guys are dropping down that track. They'll be looking to get a better lap in. Herbert is approaching Crocodiles here. This will be his final lap. He should hopefully improve and move up a little bit in that pack. He misses Cheetah, which is always a good idea. Brakes for the final corner for Nkwe, and he's on the exit. Will he improve?
It's a lovely
Currently
exit.
sitting in P9. He improves to
P2.
P2 with a
Wow.
41-1. Great improvement there from him.
The margin from P1 to P2 though is quite a lot.
Yeah, I think Paul Britt just put one of those laps together that you get every now and then. Is Matt Lamb still on track? I don't see his numbers circulating, so he has settled for the last third challenge. Connor Hine moved up into P5 as well with a 41.6. Fab Morass still on a valid lap here. Will he improve? He's currently sitting in P10. He improves to a 141.5. That puts him in P5. Fantastic showing here by Fab Morass.
Third on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say third row on the grid for Fab there, so that's an awesome effort for race 1.
A fabulous effort, you might say.
Oh my goodness. Mark Reel coming around the final corner, currently P22. Will we see an improvement? We do, up to P17. So nice job there by Mike Reel.
Yeah, really well done. So Paul Brett also improved there with a 40.4 just to rub it in a little bit more. And that is your final grid for the first race here, which will be a 20-minute race, followed by a super quali for the drivers who finish P13 and down. The top 12 will start in reverse order for the second race, which will be 40 minutes, no mandatory pit stops for anyone. So just fuel up the car and go as long as you can. Now, the question is, we have Alika Ruden in that Porsche on the second row. Will he be able to get past that Ferrari of Reagan Herbert by turn 2? You know, the Ferrari is not the best accelerating car.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we reckon? Is it Kyruden and Britt side by side into turn 1, or what are we going to see?
Yeah, I'd like to see Ali poking his nose up there just to keep Regan Herbert honest, but I don't know. Fab, even Doug could be looking to get involved in that too. It will be quite an interesting turn 2, but as long as everyone gets through cleanly, that'll be a nice setup for race 1.
Yeah, as we get some information there from race control, the track is green and it is overcast. So that is going to make the first couple of corners even more tricky. You have a lack of grip. Very easy to underestimate your pace that you're carrying through, and very easy to make mistakes. So should be an interesting start to this race.
Yeah, I mean, 10 a.m. the track might get a little warmer, but with such a short race, it's probably 1 degree at most in terms of air temp. So tire pressures should be good for the race. They might, as the race goes on, but we will see. Hopefully, no rain though.
I mean, I'm always hoping for rain because it spices it up. But yeah, always starting on a green track, you're going to end up with some grain tires, which is never ideal. So towards the end of the race, even in a 20-minute race, you do start to get a little bit of an effect from the graining on the tires. So yeah, certainly going to be an interesting race this. And I don't know, that reverse grid pole is really up for grabs here. There's so many drivers in and about that little area there that are capable of getting into that position. So it's going to be an interesting finish there.
For sure. And just curious, JP, what is your favorite corner on this track? I think barbecue would have to be perhaps the hardest to be the most consistent at, but I love the hairpin personally. What are your thoughts on the matter?
It's not the hairpin. I can I can certainly say that. It's probably my least consistent corner on any track. I just can't get it right consistently. But I don't know, favorite corner. I would have to say sort of the XK sweep coming into what's it, club or barbecue turn 5. I can never recall which one is which one.
Let me
5, yeah.
double check. Yeah.
But yeah, it's that little section there of the XK sweep up onto the back straight, and that would be my sort of favorite segment for sure.
Yeah, it makes for some cool 2-wide racing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and you always get a couple of adventurous people who try and sort of just poke a nose up there to scare you into running a little bit wide. So yeah, it always makes for an interesting, especially at the start of the race when you're just jostling for position. Certainly makes it tricky. As it looks like, who is that who hasn't started the race? Herbert has disconnected. I think his internet has said
Oh
good
no,
night.
that's a shame for Regan.
Yes.
But the rest of the field is tucked in behind the Simrigs Chevrolet racing car, safety car and race car, I guess, but safety car in this instance. But yeah, hopefully the boys are getting their tyres nice and warm, dragging those brakes, getting the pressures up, and then as we come around the final corner in a few minutes here, we will be underway with green flag racing.
Yeah, gonna be an interesting start here now. Gonna be a little bit of confusion through the pack. Everybody will have to shift up a position and across the track, so don't be too surprised if there's potentially some out of position penalties from the start of this race, because people will be a little bit confused, but hopefully not too many people make that mistake and everybody does what they're supposed to. And just as we're coming around, just quick look at chat, see the normal people in OBS. Lindsay's in, Sandowny, hi guys, hi Craig, Jan Tully, the legend, he's always in. Scope, thanks for sorting out race control for us, that'll definitely help getting a little bit more information there. Triple T, you're a wanker, I apologize for that. Mr. Peabody, hi everybody, Matt Powell, Megan Lee, thank you for the well wishes. Pip is here. Hello, Philippa. Fire Lord Racing. Hopefully, he will still give us some updates in the YouTube chat as well. Eamon Tully from the Europe region, Gorilla. Everybody, all the regulars are in the house as the cars go double file. They start approaching crocodiles. Safety car will start peeling off into the pits, and Josh Green will take you away for the first race of Ascari round 7 of the Sprint Series.
Thank you, JP. Yep, safety car is still on the track, but will be looking to make its way into the pit lane as everybody comes around the second to last corner. Cheetah, too wide, backing up, maintaining their 80 kilometers, keeping those gaps nice and small under the direction of the race director. Probably see quite a late start as they come around. It's normally after the lights on the track, but here we go. Porsche 1-2, Ferrari P3. And we are underway as we come around the kink. Porsche, sorry. Ferrari. Oh. And Kyruden getting very close to to Paul Brett. But it looks like, oh no, we have seen a safety car. Oh.
There seems to be quite a bit of depth there at turn 2, it would seem, because that was quite an early call. It'll be interesting to see what happened there. But yeah, Ali Kyruden getting a great launch there on Paul Britt, squeezing him to the inside, but Britt just holding tight and holding position. But yeah, it seems like Joshua Vettiger was a little bit slow on the start, and he was overtaken by Doug Wilson there.
Yeah, it looked like there was just one or two cars potentially involved in that incident at the corner there, but everyone seems to be with the pack right now, so we will quite likely see a few people pop into the pit lane, get their repairs done, and get back out on track behind the Simrig safety car.
So we'll get a replay of that soon enough and see what caused all the ruckus. But yeah, pretty standard Kyalami starting things. Vettiger close, and we get a replay here. So that is, I think that's Brad McDonald's Ferrari.
It is indeed. Oh, and it looks like the Merc may have just come across it on there. That's unfortunate.
Ooh, and then he just gets on the loud pedal on the grass. So it looks as though Picky just maybe the widget wasn't updating, or he just missed it and he just came across a little bit.
Unfortunate for both cars there.
Yeah, and of course Shadron gets involved in that, unfortunately. So just the 3 cars involved, not the end of the world, but it has caused the safety car. So
didn't look like too much damage will have been inflicted to either car, so will be a relatively quick pit stop for repairs. And I mean, you'd be silly not to repair if you're involved in that, and it gives Regan Herbert a chance to catch up as well. But yeah, so a few cars will probably just nip into pit lane, get those repairs done, and back out on track, and we will probably be green flag at the end of this lap if we just stick at 80. But Chevrolet car sitting there, waiting for the leaders to come around.
Good to see that Regan Herbert has rejoined the race. He is, of course, at the back of the pack, so not ideal, but it's better than not racing. You see McDonald diving into the pits. It seems as though he is the only one out of the three that has made that decision, so I don't think Bigfoot and Chevron had too much damage there.
Yeah, Brad might have clipped the wall in that one, but it doesn't look too bad. It'll probably be around perhaps 30 seconds worth of damage, I'd say.
Yeah, hopefully it shouldn't take too long. As you said, if the safety car keeps them at a speed that's not too fast, you should be able to catch back up. Matt Lamb made up 8 positions in the start there. That's not a bad return for one lap, especially
Just
considering it was only about one corner of actual racing. So that's not too bad there.
just Matt Lamb doing Matt Lamb things this season. Eric Scarney in P21, just behind Ben Dam.
That's going to be a tricky one. As you can see there, Matt Lamb is just behind Shaz, who is behind Scani in that Lexus. And having raced in the Lexus here, it's not an easy car to overtake just because of that grunt down the main straight. So that's going to be very frustrating for Matt Lamb if he gets stuck behind Scani for too long there.
Yeah, I mean, Scarney might let him through and try to stick with him, but yeah, Scarney up 5 positions. We also have Jake McCullough down in P25 up 7 positions in his Honda, and Neil Wood P18 up 6 positions. So good start for those 3 blokes.
Yeah, a couple of guys benefiting from that start. Of course, Bigfoot and McDonald there losing a fair chunk of positions. Nobody else lost out too badly. Herbert, of course, but that was not because of the incident. And yeah, as looks as though McDonald is on the back of the pack. We are going to go racing. See a replay here from Matt Lamb at the start of the race. Goes nice and tight on the inside. Get a good view of that incident as well. 3 cars off into the nether realm.
Yeah, Matty Lamb looking like Moses there, just parting the sea.
Very well done there as the safety car peels off into the pits. Paul Britt takes control of the pack. He can go whenever he is ready.
Now, if this is you, JP, what do? Do you wait till you got the completely around the turn, tires squared up, and then you're on the throttle, or do you go mid corner? As we see Pete take away.
Go as wide as possible and get a great exit and just hope that I can make it. Luckily, he has a Porsche behind him. It doesn't really, the straight line difference between the same car won't be too noticeable, and he has managed to stay ahead going into turn 1. Doug Wilson with delivery from hell there in P3 behind Peruden. Vettiger in P4, Connor Hind in P5, Fab Moraz up into P6. Well, we're staying in P6, actually. Christopher Taylor and Callum Gibbons, Shane McLaws, and Wilke Apreciado rounds out the top 10. Matt Nipperis and Gunther Rao currently on reverse grid pole in P12.
Yeah, 14 minutes to go, so lots of moves to be made yet in race 1 here, but as we well know, top 12 will be reverse grid for race 2, so that's going to be epic in our next race, which will be 40 minutes long.
It'll be interesting to see. Matt Lamb is currently in P22. He has 14 minutes of racing left to go. Can he get into that reverse grid pole position there? See, that is a BMW of Cody Carlson going fairly slowly there, almost into, or getting Herbert into the back of him there, but manages to get it slowed down. It's very wide by Carlson there. Oh, he loses it on the apex there. I'm not sure if Pickford was involved in contact there, but very hard to avoid, and Herbert and Pickford are both fast.
Yeah, we'd have to see a replay, but there might have been just the slightest of taps there, and that tricky corner without getting taps, so just enough to unsettle the car, but he did a good job to catch it on the grass, just straighten it up, off throttle, and back onto the track, just a couple of positions back from where he was already.
Absolutely. Paul Britt with an absolutely monster first lap there. He's already 1.8 seconds clear of Peruden. 141.6 on a track that is most likely not optimum. on tires that are not up to pressure. That is a pretty spicy little opening lap there. You see Caribbean has closed gap back down a little bit again. Vettiger looking very interested in the back of Wilson as well, and we are on board here with Christopher Taylor, who's looking to get something done on Fab Moras and move up towards that top 5.
Yeah, nice little rhythm going underway now. Everyone seems to be in their groove and just, yeah, getting on with it. As I say that, we see a few cars in the background getting on the dirt.
Matt Lamb is in the pits. I see car 15 in the pits there, so I'm not sure what happened to him.
We'll have to come back to you on that.
I see car 14 there as well. That was Shadron. They were involved in a battle. I'm not sure if they maybe had a bit of a coming together. This is an absolute cluster of cars here, led by Will Dickinson in the Porsche. He has Barrelon behind him, and then Pickford, Herbert, and Ascari all getting involved in this. Brad McDonald on the back of that. Some very spicy racing going on here. Herbert looking for a move around the outside there. Pickford squeezes him onto the grass, not really giving him much space or respect there, and he keeps the position, but Herbert won't be too happy about that. He does get a great exit out of the SS. Will he be able to make something work into Leeuwkop? Pickford picks the middle line, doesn't really give him a lot of space, and Herbert tries for the cutback coming down into mine shaft. The Ferrari has legs on the Mercedes.
Yeah, nice little crisscross there. We could be on for a pass. What way will he go? It's looking like the AMG will be defending. And this is a tricky corner to get around the outside on, so we see Herbert tuck in behind as we come up to Cheetah. You're a brave man to go too wide through there.
Well, brave is one of the words you can. some other words that describe it a little bit more aptly, but Herbert there forcing him narrow. You see here, Lamb moves out of the slipstream of that Lexus.
That is
coming
Ascari.
down on top of Ascari. Earlier, ooh, very late on the brakes. Misses braking. Does well to avoid the Aston, but does put himself in the wall. So
that's a shame for Matty Lamb.
Self-inflicted there. Luckily, he has the championship one, so not really going to affect that, but he will be absolutely fuming about that. Herbert and Pickford still side by side here, going through the XK sweep up into turn 5. I still don't know the name. Does the little cutback. Pickford goes too wide, and that is Barrelon into the wall as well. Looks pretty self-inflicted.
Brad McDonald looking to go around the outside of Sunset. He's trying to stick with the Ferrari in front. As we see the AMG getting the rear out, but he keeps it on. Good save. And Brad McDonald trying to stick with Herbert here.
Pickford, the drift king there, and going through Sunset. Absolutely brilliantly done to hold on to that. You see Vettiger here on the back of Wilson, not being able to find a way through yet. He certainly looks like he has the pace on Wilson, but just can't manage that overtake. Garuden and Britt absolutely cleared off into the distance at the front. Already an 8-second. Oh, sorry, these deltas are a bit screwy, so it looks like 7 seconds roughly the gap to Wilson.
Quite a big gap for only 5 or 6 minutes racing since the safety car went back into pit lane. As we go around the final corner with Preciado, he's tucked in behind Matt Nipris, and Aston will be looking to try get down the inside of the Honda, but I don't know if he's going to quite have the pace. He's fainting. Will he do it? And they both hold their lines, but nicely done there by both drivers.
Having been stuck behind a Honda for 20 minutes last night, I can tell you that the Aston does not have the acceleration to get through on that straight. So he will be hoping for Nipris to potentially make a mistake. It looks as though Moraz has made a little bit of a mistake. Christopher Taylor trying to go up the inside of Sunset. That is a risky move. Fab gives him space. He will have the inside for the next corner, and he keeps the position. Looks as though Fab made a little error coming out of turn 5, and that gave Taylor a slight opportunity, but manages to hold on there and continue as they were.
That's right, and Ascari putting on a great show so far in race 1. Some nice side-by-side around Sunset, around Barbecue, the whole first sector, even the hairpin. It's a great race so far, and Paul Brett is just still out in P1, followed by Ali Karudin and Doug Wilson. So we have a Porsche 1-2-3 at the moment.
Yeah, pretty standard for Split Ascari with the Porsches up the front, all the fast lads in the fast car. See Charles Clark here right on the back of Alex Pass in that big brick of a vehicle called the GTR, as it looks as though Charles goes for the inside there. Pass squeezes him a little bit, manages to stay ahead. Charles Clark wants to get past here and try and chase down Ashley Vettiger for that reverse grid pole. Fortunately for him, Alex Bass, the defense holding firm at the moment. But currently we have Vettiger sitting on reverse grid pole. So he is having a pretty good race so far. Charles Clark, one of those drivers. I just jumped in the TeamSpeak before I started comms, and he was on his first practice lap for this week. So putting in the work to to be as fast as possible. But he generally starts figuring it out about 5 laps into the race, and then he normally moves forward. So I'm sure he will get a good result out of it anyway.
Yeah, nice little train we have here. From Vettiger back to Benjamin Piper, Mike Reel, Rowe, and Thistlewaite. So midfield is looking like there could be some good battles ready to happen as soon as someone makes a mistake. As we see 2 wide up ahead, a little bit of a bang there, but
Bass was facing the wrong direction.
unfortunate, and then
Not
2
sure
wide
that-
into the S's, but Porsche does back out of it.
Yeah, not sure that was completely self-inflicted there. I think there may have been some contact maybe between him and Clark or Real. But Benjamin Piper says, thank you very much. I shall gain 3 positions through no hard work, and he will hope to clear off the front of Charles Clark.
Yeah, and if you're in P13 right now, you are pushing. You want that P12 to get on the pole for race 2. So bit of an incentive for P13 and 14 right now to really get the elbows out and work their way up.
So we get a replay here. We see Charles Clark look for something around the outside of Pass. Doesn't get through there, and then he just tries to go up the inside Pass. Not really on the apex, not committing, but that will be Clark's fault, I think, therefore putting his nose where he doesn't belong, so he may be looking at a penalty. Chevron's day goes from bad to worse so far as he gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not ideal there for him.
No, that's, you never want to get that, but it is better than the stop go 30 and like, yeah, that the game tries to make you serve. So yeah, I think at 10 seconds, I think it's a fair penalty. I think it's good the way we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see, Taylor has gotten past Fab Moraz there. It looks as though Moraz made a slight little error there coming out of turn 3. At the back of these 2 guys, we have Matt Nipperis and Callum Gibbons fighting hammer and tongs as well. They will hope to get through on Moraz as well. Some interesting lines going into there. Everybody looking to gain an advantage. Matt Lamb has set a fastest lap of a 140.2. So he is fast when he does valet laps.
For sure. And I see the gap from Wilson to Vettiger just 0.2, so Vettiger is keeping Wilson very honest throughout the whole race.
Yeah, Nipperis up the inside there of Gibbons. I think Gibbons got a better exit there, so he will stay ahead. He might need to defend coming into Crocodiles. Nipperis is looking very aggressive. He really wants to get up that field, but Gibbo defends on the inside. Nipperis around the outside of Crocodiles. Not an easy move to do. That's going to invite Appreciado up the inside. Nipperis and Appreciado side by side. Somebody back out, please. Appreciado does get on the brakes, and Nipperis sticks it around the outside. That's going to compromise Appreciado into the final corner. Shane McLaws looking to get around him, but Appreciado does get a good run out of the final corner, and just a slight squeeze on McLaws there and stays ahead for now.
Yeah.
To get behind us.
Gibbo, Nipperis and Appreciado putting on an absolute show here in race 1. This is some great racing. Very respectful too, nothing reckless going on. Just nice side by side.
Yeah,
watching those radars.
And very well forward out by Appreciado there to back out at Cheetah. It's not fun to back out of a battle. McKellar up the inside of Steve Lewis there. Can he make that work? Steve Lewis gets a great exit out of turn 2, stays ahead. But yeah, it's never fun to back out of a battle, but sometimes just that discretion is the better part of valor there. Vettiger is past Wilson.
Oh, wow.
Wilson looking to get back on the inside of the S's. Oh, Vettiger with a nice little drift there. Didn't lose much time there. And look at Connor Hind behind, looking for a run on Doug Wilson with that face mobile. I hope to God he changes that livery next season. But will he be able to get back past Vettiger? I think Vettiger might start clearing off once he settles down a little bit.
Yeah, Vettiger is looking very racy. The margin to Kyrud is 8.9 seconds. So unless Kyrudin has a little whoopsie, I think P2 and P1 are just about done and dusted. But yeah, P3 totally up for grabs. Connor Hine also looking very racy back there in P5 as we watch the replay.
How did he keep that Porsche going in a straight line there? But very well saved. And Vettiger taking the opportunity. He has been waiting for that for about, what's it, 17 minutes now. And finally, his patience has paid off and he's gained a position up into the podium.
Yeah, that pressure, you just gotta keep applying it and just hope they'll crack. So we see turn 2, Connor Hine deep on the brakes, but he gets it pulled up. And he is tucked in right in behind Doug Wilson, P5 right now currently. So he is looking very racy, pro. And we see Matty Lamb.
Ideal. He's not having the best final round so far. He does have the fastest lap, but that's not going to be much consolation at the moment. And if we look at reverse grid pole, at the moment Benjamin Piper is 2.1 seconds behind Ashley Vettiger. It was 2.7 a little bit earlier. Only about 2 more racing laps left. He has his work cut out for him if he's going to get onto reverse grid pole. But he certainly has dragged that Bentley into places it doesn't belong this season. Oh, Herbert! Little bit of contact there on Steve Lewis. Steve Lewis into the wall. Herbert manages to keep it going, but I think the stewards may potentially have a look at that. Pickford and Pass here in a battle. Both of them have been involved in incidents. Speaking of incidents, Pass almost has another one as Pickford just goes up the inside a little bit there.
But it looks like he backed off there. I don't know if he was giving the position or just because he didn't have the optimal line, because you want to be on the outside to head into that left corner. But I see Eric Scarney up 6 positions, followed by Jack McCullough up 11 positions. So P20 and P21 doing really well from where they qualified. And the margin 0.5, so...
Oh, somebody has had an incident. Gunther Rao is dropping down the field there. We saw him in a battle with... Oh, I think that's Ferox in the GTR there, so it may have been a bit of a coming together into Crocodiles there. Reagan Herbert around the outside of Ben Ferguson. Ben Ferguson being very polite there. And Reagan Herbert moves up an additional position. He has moved up about 14 positions since the start of the race, since he joined from the pits. So, great recovery. Ooh, Niparis almost does the same thing as Wilson, but he is compromised, but he takes the inside line. Will get Ricciardo. Won't be able to make anything happen around the outside there. Don't think, or is he going to prove me wrong? No, he's keeping it there. Absolutely fantastic driving there by Ricciardo. Great respect shown by Niparis as well, giving him the space, and Ricciardo is through, although Niparis is back up the inside. He did a little kickback, or switchback, and then backs out into the S's, but he gets a great run out of there. This battle continues coming up to Leo Cup. Ricciardo gives him the outside. Niparis late on the brakes. Ricciardo runs a little bit wide. There's a tiny bit of door banging there. That is GT3 racing, but Ricciardo stays ahead for the time being.
Yeah, and there's 0 minutes on the clock, so this will be the final lap. As we see on the minimap, the leader is coming up to the start-finish line, so this will be P1 for Paul Britt and race 1 for Ascari, so congratulations.
Yeah,
and
absolutely flawless by him there. Sharudan in P2.
And not long behind them, we have Connor Hine coming around in 5th.
We got a replay here of what happened to
Gunther.
Rowe. Oh, that is Fistleweight completely missed his braking there. You can see he realized that as soon as he hit him that he was definitely in the wrong, as we see. It seems as though Ashley Vettiger will be our reverse grid pole holder. Charles Clark finished behind him, but he does have a 10-second penalty.
Eric Scarney coming across the line in P18, so great drive for him, coming up 8 positions.
Yeah, fantastic done by him there, especially considering his first lap incident. See there, 10-second penalty for Ferox for that incident on Rao, which seems like a fair cop there. But that was actually a fairly clean race, apart from a couple of little unfortunate incidents, especially on the first lap there. But great racing overall, very good side-by-side battles, and I think it's going to be an even spicier race too when we have that reverse grid going.
Yeah, so we're going to have Ashley Vettiger on pole, and he will have Shane McClaws beside him in P2.
That's going to be interesting. The 2 slowest starting cars, pretty much, apart from the Ferrari on the front row with a Honda behind them. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Matt Niparis lead that race by the time we get to turn 3.
But yeah, so P1 2, and 3 was Paul Brett, Ali Kairudan, and Joshua Vediger. So they will be starting from middle of the pack this time. But the next 6 minutes, because it's only a 6-minute quali for the super sprint rounds, everyone not in the top 12 will go out, get a couple of flying laps in, and they will. Sorry, lost train of thought. They will make out the rest of the grid from P12 backwards.
Yeah, it's 6 minutes is not a lot of time to get a lap together. You certainly have your work cut out for you. Yeah, ACC doing ACC things here, not quite ticking over properly the way it should. Does give us quite a nice view of all of the cars, nose to tail, except for Doug Wilson's car, which we don't necessarily want to see. No, no. But yeah, no. Some really nice liveries here, except for Shazran with the waifu. But no, generally, I've really enjoyed seeing some of the liveries that we've seen gotten this season, with the new custom liveries being allowed.
It's so
Some
good.
fantastic liveries. I mean, that Help Me livery is wonderful there on the Porsche, and quite appropriate given the Porsche's deadly nature. Shoeies with Scani's face on it, not necessarily one of the better ones, but he certainly put some effort in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so much better than just the in-game liveries. So awesome that we have that, and it will be the same in season 12, I believe. Speaking of season 12 there, JP, we have coming up for our first round, not until February, but we have a Paul Ricard Super Sprint kicking off. That will be awesome as well, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, there's many words I use to describe Paul Ricard. Awesome is not necessarily high on that list. But I hate lapping Paul Ricard. It's not a fun track to lap, but it does make for good racing.
Yeah, I mean, that straight, it seems to just go on forever, but it's really cool. What sort of strategy do you go for there? Do you go low wing and try and gun it on the straights? Do you go more higher wing and try and make the most of the corners, or do you sort of compromise and go somewhere in between usually?
Yeah, generally the setup we used for the Paul Ricard 8-hour was, I mean, obviously it rained the whole race, so that didn't really matter too much, but we run sort of low-ish wing, and try and make up some time in the sector 1 and sector 3, but enough speed on the straight to be able to defend. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the fastest car around there is the Porsche, and it's also the slowest on the straight line, so you can gather a lot of time, but if you're getting bullied on the straight, then it's certainly a bit of a problem. So you need that compromise to be good throughout the track.
Yeah, I remember the previous season in the AMG with low wing on the straights, it was average, but it was terrible in the fast corner, like at the end of the straight. So you kind of just had to settle for somewhere in between, and it wasn't particularly good in the corners, and it wasn't particularly good in the straights. So definitely not a strong track for the AMG, but yeah, Porsche apparently is very quick at Paul Ricard.
Yeah, a couple of seasons ago, when we were in the Lexus there, it was just we did I think it was 288 without a toe down the straight. It was just a joke.
Yeah.
But we lost almost a second in the final sector to some of the other cars. So you just had to absolutely yeet it down the straight and hope that you could survive the rest of the track. But it definitely made it quite tricky to overtake us.
Yeah, I remember one day when I was quite bored and I was just hanging out with one of my Enduro teammates, I put the Lexus on one wing and it was hitting 290 down the straight before you had to turn. So yeah, it is an absolute weapon, but the corners probably not so much.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, look, when you put it on a straight line, it just has a massive smile on its face, and then it gets all grumpy when you ask it to turn.
Yeah.
Race Control asking a question there. Kyalami last hosted an F1 Grand Prix in 1993. Who won that race?
No Googling.
Alexa. Oh, that's not Google.
So we see Matty Lamb. He will be hoping to get a valid lap in this time and start from P13.
Yeah, I would say he's a pretty safe bet for P13 if he can manage to keep it on the grey stuff for one whole lap.
Not that we'd want to curse him at all.
I don't think he needs any cursing today. He's been doing that all by himself. So
could be some redemption though in race 2 for sure. He'll be looking.
can get a 39 if Matt Lamb doesn't get a 39. He is officially washed as he crosses the line with a 39.8, so he's not yet washed, and that is an absolutely stonking lap time there by him.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But it is looking a little bit cloudy. I wonder, because the session, the quali session that we're in now is at 12 p.m. and the race is at 2 p.m. in game. So a lot of weather things can happen in 2 hours, JP.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And the answer to the question is Alain Prost winning his second South African GP. He was an absolute magician in a race car, so definitely a safe bet there. As we see Gunther Rau with a 41.7, that is an absolutely very fast, respectable lap time, and he is almost 2 seconds behind Matt Lamb on pole position. Um, it's a little bit disheartening driving against some of these caliber of drivers where you do your absolute best and you're still 2 seconds off the pace.
Mm. Yeah, as we see a few names yet who aren't in the top 12, haven't got their name on the board. So with a minute 20 left, you're going to be wanting to set just, even if it's a bank lap. Oh, as we see Regan Herbert getting it very lively, but he keeps it on the track. Probably not the optimal line there, JP, but he did well to. That was some good car control.
Look, I mean, he can. I don't want to judge other people's lines. You know, everybody approaches it the way they want to approach it. So maybe that's just how he feels like he needs to take it. But it didn't seem like the optimal line, I would say, as it looks as though he's really struggling. And he goes even faster with a 39.6, which is
Wow.
a little bit disgusting. I'm feeling some acid reflux coming on just by watching what he's doing with that car. But yeah, certainly putting a stamp of dominance on this qualifying session here.
Absolutely.
Race control with the facts here. McLaren just broke his long-standing record at Kyalami.
That's pretty good, eh? And it's looking like at the moment Gunther Rowe will be starting beside Matty Lamb and will be in P14. Benjamin Piper will be in P15 and Brad McDonald P16. As I say that, Regan Herbert moves up the board to P2, so he will be P14. But a few more cars making their way around the final corners now as we wrap up the final qualifying session for Ascari this season. Just a 6-minute one, but nevertheless a good one.
Yeah, so if Matt Lamb doesn't do a 38, he is officially washed. I think there's only literally about 2 or 3 people who has been able to do a 38, so that would be pretty much insane. But yeah, a 39.6 is definitely up there with the best in the world on this game for sure. So
Yeah, so it looks as though he has brushed the dust off from race 1 and he is ready to take it to the rest of the field in race 2.
around the final corner here, this is another 39, I would say. I don't think he's going to improve on his previous lap, but he might prove me wrong. He does not.
And as we can see, race control reporting that no 138 was set and Matt Lamb is officially washed. So I don't know what that makes me, JP, but it definitely isn't good.
No, it's a different class. You're pro am, so it's fine. You don't need to do 38s to not be washed. So it's that's what the classes are for, you know. A bit very wide there. Hopefully he stayed legal and valid there. As you can see, the gap between him and Benjamin Piper only 7/1000ths of a second. Will he be able to improve here? His time has officially run out. He does improve. He goes ahead of Benjamin Piper. Thistlethwaite also putting his car up into P4 there. Not where a GTR is used to being, but that will conclude the super qualifying for the second race of the Ascari.
Yeah, nice little mixture of different manufacturers there. We have Porsche, Ferrari, Bentley, Nissan, Porsche, AMG or Mercedes, and then BMW in the top 7 from P13 onwards. So good qualifying session there by Split Ascari.
Rain in 10 minutes, says Firelord Racing. So that is going to be a very, very spicy transition phase in this race. Yeesh, that I swear I speak English.
Yeah, so rain in 10 minutes. So if this is you, JP, you're on this grid. Are you putting your dries a couple clicks up and trying to do a couple laps extra before the crossover sort of comes into effect and play, or do you just pit early? Because it really depends how wet we're going to see.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on that forecast. You know, if it's only a little short shower or something like that, you try and stick it out on the dries. If it's heavy rain, then I wouldn't necessarily put the tires up because it's 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to run on very overpressure tires. You don't really want to risk that. But yeah, just try and get that timing on the pit right when you come in, matching that sort of overlap between the wets and the dries. Yeah, I'd rather run on standard tires and try and get timing right.
For sure. And if it is medium rain in 10 minutes time, I wonder if there's a safety car where you will see anyone taking a gamble, because the safety car occurred right at the start of race 1 and we were still under safety car until around the 15-minute mark. So I wonder if anyone's going to take a punt and come in for wets if there is a safety car, as the safety car pulls into pit lane, and yeah, try and gain an advantage and yeah, have
Well,
wets ready to go.
will certainly be interesting to see because of how this game's weather forecast works. It's very like when it starts showing that 10 minutes, that doesn't necessarily mean it's in 10 minutes. It means within the next 10 minutes that sort of rain is coming from when the forecast starts. So there's potential that it could start raining in the next 5 minutes or so. And as you said, when that safety car inevitably comes out, there is a good chance of having rain. As you saw there, it was light rain and reducing in 30 minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see with that type of weather, the track should go wet or at least damp. And on a damp track, the wet tires are certainly faster than the dries.
Yeah, and I see Matty Powell was saying in chat, I'd start on wets, take the punt. And absolutely, if you're at the back of the field, why not? You got nothing to lose, right? You could gain so much. You just obviously gonna have to try and nurse them through the initial stage of the race and hope that gamble pays off. But if you're at
I
the
would,
front of the field, I don't
no,
know if you'd be taking that same approach.
I would honestly say that taking that gamble of starting on the wets definitely won't pay off. If you have to do 2 dry laps on the wets, you'll absolutely sort of ruin them already. So they really don't operate on anything less than a damp track. I don't think it would be worth the gamble, but yeah, should be interesting to see when that rain actually comes, and especially how heavy it comes. According to Octane or according to Mulder, seems as though it's just going to be 2 light little drizzles. So you might see people just stick it out on the dries and try and survive.
As we see reverse 12, top 12 make their way through the grid and lining up behind the sprint Simrigs safety car. Everybody is just getting acquainted with where and who they're meant to be around, and then they'll make their way around and the safety car will peel off and we will be underway for race 2 and the final round for Split Ascari of season 11.
I would like to criticize Split Ascari for what they call single file, because that was very much not single file.
It was more of a zip.
Yeah, that was awful, but hopefully the racing is better than their lining up skills. As we see them come onto the back straight here, we have Ashley Vettiger on pole with McLaws in P2, and we should get a leaderboard up at some stage to give you an up-to-date starting grid once the safety car clears off as well. Here we go, we have Ashley Vettiger, Shane McLaws, Matt Niparis, Wilco Apreciado, Callum Gibbons, Fab Moraz, Christopher Taylor, Connor Hine, Doug Wilson, Joshua Vettiger, Ali Kairuden, and Paul Britt. The top 12, Matt Lamb and Reagan Herbert, hoping for some redemption drives on this second race after some gettable performances in the first race, especially by Reagan Herbert's internet.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. Not what you like to see, but I mean, like they have in real life problems, you also have technical difficulties in sim racing, although would probably be better if internet dropouts were not one of them.
Yeah, not ideal. As we see that McLaren's wipers are on. Is it raining already? I can't see visible rain on screen. Was he just a bit of a premature wiper?
No rain.
No rain. Okay, so it's just McLaws getting a bit excited by the thoughts of rain. And we should be going a double file now, coming into Crocodiles. Safety car will be peeling off. Track seems dark. Mini Simeon, yep, it's made of asphalt. That is generally quite a dark material. And we wait for the safety car to peel off for the second race of Split Ascari here. Round 7 of this. Oh, as we see the rain
And it looks
comes
great.
out.
Yeah, and that cloud just burst.
So Matt Powell may have had a masterstroke of strategy with his call of starting on the wets.
Now, I
It's gonna
wonder
be
if we see any cars peel into the pit lane right now, or do they go and get that first lap done?
I don't think you're allowed to, as they come around the final corner. Ashley Vettiger, not sure if it's his first pole position, but it won't be one of many in this series, so he will be feeling the pressure, and this rain is certainly not going to improve that feeling. Shane McLaw starting next to him. Hopefully the gaps close up a little bit there. Will Capriciato is a little bit far back. We wait for the green light. It is a little bit delayed with the and we are going. Will Capriciato, a very slow start at the back there. Vettiger with a poor start. Matt Nippers up the inside there of Vettiger. He might get turn P1 into turn 1, 4 wide in the wet. That is very brave by some drivers. They are making it work there. They peel off and it is now 3 wide. Vettiger up the inside there. Kyruden very brave up the inside of Hein there. Will he look on the inside of Wilson? No space there. So far so good. They are staying nice and clear. Hein almost dipping a wheel onto the sand there and going around, but he manages to keep it facing straight towards the back. Quite a few 2 wides, but no contact at the moment. Vettiger looking for something on Hein. Hein not making any mistakes. Kyruden says thank you very much. I'll try and go around the outside here. Will he be able to make that work into the left-hander? He is on the inside. Vettiger does seem to get a very good drive through there. Is he ahead enough to cut off the nose? He certainly is. Keeps the position, and now Kyruden is under pressure from Paul Britt as well. Looks as though Fab Miraz under pressure there. He gets pushed wide there by Herbert. That allows Matt Lamb to get a good run coming out of the SS up into Newcop hairpin. Can he go around outside of Herbert? Very tricky in these conditions, especially with the rain coming down. He does get a good drive out of there. It is a drag race between the Porsche and the Ferrari. Oh, as we see Benjamin Piper into the wall there coming out of the hairpin. Unfortunate for him there, Matt Lamb is ahead of Reagan Herbert. Will he defend coming into the Crocodiles? He certainly does. Herbert will try and send it around the outside, but Matty Lamb says, never mind, I'll just overtake Kyruden after Kyruden makes a little mistake, and they will hopefully not go side by side coming into Cheetahs. Will we see somebody diving into the pit lane to jump on the wets from the lead pack? It doesn't appear to be the case. Oh, and that is
may
quite
just be a
unfortunate.
safety car. Parked right on the apex. You do not want to be there. But it looks like everyone is still going strong, and a beautifully commentated first lap there, JP. I was on the edge of my seat for that one, and looks like everybody did really well. 4 wide into turn 1 in the rain on slicks is pretty ambitious, but great job just Benny Piper going off the track after the hairpin. So great job by Split Ascari in the rain.
Yeah, certainly a good start there. It looks as though McLaw's made a little bit of a mistake there, inviting Christopher Taylor to have a look. McLaw's drifting through Sunset. I think Lamb was involved in that final corner incident there with Hein. We will get a replay of that. Not 100% sure what actually happened, but few cars involved there. Nippers is putting all kinds of pressure on Vettiger here. Vettiger doing very well in these opening laps in tricky conditions under a lot of pressure. Very good start from him there. Cody Colson is leading the race according to the leaderboard. I don't think that is factual. You see Taylor around the outside of McLaws through the hairpin. Will he be able to make that stick? He gets a great exit. I think the Honda will have the legs coming into mineshaft. He can probably cut the nose off. He certainly does that. He is ahead and he is up into P4.
Preciado deep on the brakes. Hopefully he's moved that brake bias back, but he gets it pulled up. And right behind him we have Callum Gibbons. So everyone makes their way around Cheetah relatively nicely. You don't want to use too much of that curb in the rain, as we see a couple of cars pulling into the pit lane.
Both the Vettigers into the pits together. I'm not sure if that's coordinated, but that might be a very good call. We're not aware of the track conditions at the moment, but it should be at least greasy at this stage, maybe approaching them. So that might be an absolute genius call by both of the Becketts there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like for light rain, it actually looks quite heavy, almost medium. So it can be a little bit deceiving from up here in the comm box. But yeah, I think I would personally, as we see Regan
Oh,
Herbert
Herbert.
going wide, but he keeps it on the track. But I would personally, and he flashes his lights. Might know he's on stream there potentially, but yeah, I think now would be the lap I would be wanting to come in.
Yeah, I think we are having a look at the potential weather conditions here as we see some adjustment on screen there. Appreciato a little bit wide there. It's going to allow Gibbo up the inside of the S's. Will Appreciato give it up? He definitely will not. He tries to battle around outside there, but Gibbo does get the better of him as we see McLaws goes around.
That's a big
And
hit.
that is Britt, whose race has pretty much just ended. That is an incredible impact there. So not much he could have done to avoid that. Unfortunately, McLaws was parked across the track.
Yeah, nothing he could do there, so that's unfortunate for Paul Brett. If he wasn't coming in for wets, I'm sure he'll definitely be coming in now, and he'll probably have to fix that damage. That was quite a high speed hit.
Yeah, that was a fair old impact there. I don't think the Porsche is going to enjoy that, especially given the conditions as well. You see
Yeah.
how much understeer he has there. Oh, as we see Gunther approaching at great speed. And things for Britt just go from bad to worse. He gets absolutely yeeted, as well as Scani does a nice pirouette off the track after getting hit as well.
Hopefully he has a nice rejoin there in the, yep, back of the shot. Nice rejoin by Scani. And yep, we do see Porsches pulling into the pit lane, but quite a few people opting to stay out at this stage, which is surprising because it looks very wet from up here as we see 3 cars trundling down the pit lane and a safety car has been called. So yeah, that's probably a good thing if you're Paul Brett right now.
Yeah, good luck for him there. He'll be able to repair that damage. Has somebody informed the safety car of this whole safety car situation? He seems to be rather comfortable just sitting there. This is ideal for, I think Vettiger may benefit from this rather well as well. So everybody, well, I mean, they will be able to pit under the safety cars, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out with the people who have pitted already.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a safety car did come up flashing on the screen, so we would think we would see the Chevrolet Simrigs safety car.
There we go, safety car is now
There we go.
officially being deployed. Is he moving yet? I'm still not
And I
seeing
wonder
action.
if the safety car is on wets. So Ascari 2 weeks in a row now with the wet race. Last week at the NERB, also a wet race. So the boys will be getting quite good at this wet weather racing, one would think.
Currently a Honda 123. I think the boys back at the factory would be celebrating that at the moment. Great performance by all three of these guys so far. Regan Herbert sitting there in P4. He has been involved in some shenanigans, so hopefully nothing coming of that. Ruden has made it up to P6 already after starting in P11. Good progress there for him. Herbert, of course, started in P14, so he has made fantastic progress as this race started.
Yeah.
And then
I'm wondering if any of the top 10 from the top 12 had already pitted. So obviously a few cars had pitted before the safety car was called, but it'll be interesting to see where everyone sort of slots in behind after they've most likely served their pit stop. Because I mean, there's no reason you wouldn't stop now with safety car for wets, surely, right?
yeah, definitely gonna be interesting to see if people dive into the pit lane. I was expecting to see most people. Looks like one of the Hondas has pitted. Metnopris is in the pits, as well as Appreciato, Alex Bass. A couple of drivers choosing to pit at the moment. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure. As we don't know the current track condition, we can't really make a comment on the current strategy calls, but I'm sure the drivers are aware of what they're driving on, so they can make the best call.
Yeah, and Taylor doing awesome though, leading the Pro-Ams in P1 overall right now, followed by Gibbo, and then Herbert in P3 in the Ferrari. So Ruden will be looking to get his way onto the podium, currently in 4th, and Thistleweight sitting there in the Nissan P5. Nissan tends to do quite well in the wet, so that will be interesting when we get back underway.
Yeah, I mean, the Honda is ooh, that's a little bit close there, Mr. Barrelon. Maybe you can back off a little bit. You are not ghosted. Yeah, the Honda is very fast in the wet, but it's very dodgy. And then, of course, you have the Porsche that's fast all the time, but again, rather dodgy. And you have the Aston that is a very, very strong car in the wet, but there's only one of them in the top 10 at the moment with Mike Reel. A couple of them have pitted already, so I'm really not sure how these standings are going to play out by the end of this. I don't think the safety car will be waiting for cars that did their sort of tire change now, so it does seem as though most of them will be able to catch up with the pack though.
Yeah, I would assume the safety car will be in this lap, but looks like everyone's still trying to figure out how to get single file sorted out, JP. But yeah, they are not ghosted, so you just want to keep a little bit of distance to that car ahead. Last thing you want is damage under a safety car, and probably a decent sized penalty from the stewards who frown upon contact under safety cars.
Yeah, no, it's certainly, I mean, generally the single file, when they do the outlap, I would say that is a fairly important setup, but under safety cars, this staggering is certainly the safer option. You know, even if you potentially lose concentration for a second, you won't hit anybody. As we get a replay here, what happened between Matt Lamb and Connor Hine coming through Cheetah, safely through there is Matt Lamb a little bit late on the brakes. Not really, gets hit in the back by Kyruden, ping pongs into Hind, and Kyruden hits Lamb again. Hind is the unfortunate loser there. He gets spinned around. Brad McDonald manages to keep it facing the right direction. I'm not sure how. Matt
Yeah, he
Lamb
was left,
had
right,
enough.
left, right. His wheel was getting its money worth.
Yeah, very well done to hold on to that somehow. But yeah, Connor Hind, the unfortunate recipient there of a punt from behind through no fault of Matt Lamb there, and just unfortunate physics more than anything, really. The game making a simple incident seem a lot worse than it was.
Yeah, that's right, JP. And we see Paul Brett is near the back of the field, but he has had an opportunity to get that damage repaired. So at least he might be near the back of the pack now, but he has a fresh car with fresh tires, and he'll be looking to make his way back up somewhere in the midfield, maybe even towards the front, just see how we go. But yeah, good news for Paul Brett regarding the safety car.
Yeah, I would say the important question here is who is the leading driver on wet tires at the moment, and I think that is Ashley Vettiger. So we should be able to get a quick view of that while they are still on the sort of safety car lap. And if it's going to stay wet, we might see some drivers that have to, can't see the tire app at the moment, so we can't quite see what tires they're on. But yeah, that's going to play out if people still have to pit while these drivers are on the wet tires that might arguably be faster in these conditions. They might benefit greatly from that. There we get a look at the tire widget. So tries there. Ooh, that's Gibbons on the wets. So he has made an absolute master call on the strategy there. Herbert is on the wets. So a couple of the lead drivers are on the wet. So yeah, this is going to be interesting to see this battle play out. We're not. I don't think it'll finish raining before the end of the race. Yeah, definitely. It is the nice thing about this game and about weather's sort of simulation is it certainly adds a lot of like strategy and bit of a trickiness, making that extra call, whether it's pitting for wets, whether it's staying out a little bit longer, certainly adds another dimension to the race.
For sure. I mean, personally, pit stops for me, I love them. I think even super sprints, like at least a 40-minute race, I think it'd be really cool if there was a mandatory pit stop. So it's cool when the weather sort of makes it happen.
Yep. You see the safety car has peeled off into the pits. Christopher Taylor takes control of the pack. He has 9 gaggle of cars on his tail there. Is he going early? It seems as though he has decided to go already. Gibbo is right behind him. It's fairly decent launch there, but Christopher Taylor with a great launch. Herbert very close to Gibbo on the restart there. Kyrudin in P4. He might be looking at a penalty though, so hopefully he can make some progress. Fisselwhite just behind them in P5 in that brick of a GPR. Everybody safely into turn 1. These single file starts are generally a bit safer. So currently no yellow flags, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, as we see Herbert right on the back of Gibbo, he will be feeling the pressure, but both drivers doing great jobs so far since the restart. So we come up to Sunset. Will he be poking the nose around the outside? Ooh, I mean, he's right on him. Does he dart up the inside? Perhaps. Yes, he does. So nice move there by Herbert, and great awareness by Gibbo to give him plenty of room and just duck him behind, knowing that Regan Herbert may have a pending penalty. So great job there by both drivers.
So giving him a lot of room there, making sure that it's essential to avoid any contact there between the two of them. And just playing it smart, he knows Herbert is a fast driver. He can stick to the back of him and they can potentially put some pressure on Taylor up the front. We're on board here with McLaws. Because of course the car that was across the road, so he has hopefully repaired his damage and he's still in P9. I'm not sure if he pitted yet. But he would have taken a fair chunk of damage. As we see, Taylor goes very wide there in mineshaft. Not sure if that was assisted, as Herbert was very close to him, but we will potentially get a replay of that a bit later. Claws around the outside of Pickford through Crocodiles, side by side in the wet on dry tires. Fujita, who doesn't love a bit of action. These two guys say, we'll make it work, and McLaws finds out quickly that that is not possible, and we see Fab Moraz get absolutely mullered there by, I think it was Mr. Barrelon.
Brad McDonald, very authoritative move there up the inside, but there is a crisscross going on here, so move is not done, and the Ferrari does not have the acceleration that it needs, although they are both in Ferraris here. But yeah, not the best exit for Brad there, but he is looking to stick the nose down the inside again as we come down the kink into turn 2, and it's looking like he's going to get it done, but it isn't done yet. And there we go, Brad McDonald, nice move there. As Barrelon tucks in behind as they make their way around to barbecue.
Oh, as we see, that was Rowe up the inside of Barrelon there. Not an easy corner to go up the inside. You have a big curve on the inside. There was a bit of contact, so it'll be interesting to see what the stewards think of that. But he does get the overtake done, and he adds the pressure of Makela onto the back of Barrelon, and he will be chasing down McDonald in front of him, looking to move up into that top 10 positions. As we see Barrelon very wide there, Makela will be able to come up the inside. He does have my favorite livery in OOR. Will he be able to make it stick into the SS? Get a great view here from onboard Scani's car. He is behind these two guys in a Lexus that does not enjoy the wet weather conditions, but he is handling it fairly well.
And he is driving the best sounding car in Split Ascari, so I mean, just the onboard for that is worth it alone. And he's very close. But lots of too wide coming out of the hairpin. This will make for some interesting racing as they turn left at the end of the straight.
It's a very tricky space to go side by side there. Vettiger backs out of it. Ooh, Scani very deep under the brakes. Will he? Ooh, just manages to pull it back and not make contact there with Baron. Nippers around the outside of Vettiger. Side by side, Fuchita. Surely we will be learning this lesson sometime soon. He does back out, but he does get the curb. Manages to survive that somehow.
And he took that, yeah, he took that curb surprisingly well.
I know the Honda is good over curbs. I did not know it can survive Cheetah, so that's interesting.
Yeah, he almost looked as though it was just a hurdle and he just kept on going. If that was the Ferrari, that did 3 times at least. So.
Well, the Ferrari would be landing sometime around now.
Yeah, Ferrari Airlines, so he'd just about be touching down on the runway. But Scani up the inside.
No, that's better go around the outside.
Oh, sorry.
Fantastic overtake there. If he can make it stick, Scani. Ooh, the long nose of the Lexus nearly makes contact there with Vettiger, but Vettiger makes the move stick. Fantastic driving there by both to avoid contact, and Vettiger is quickly making his way through this field. Get a replay here of Regan Herbert and Christopher Taylor going through mineshaft side by side, and Taylor just understeered wide. The car just would not turn in these conditions. Oh, yeah. Contact there by Barrelon on Vettiger. Vettiger must have made a mistake or something to allow Barrelon to get there again, and Vettiger, all his hard work of the last couple of laps is completely undone there by one corner.
Yeah, on board with Nepris right behind Scani. who is also right behind Vettega, so looking very interesting here up into the hairpin. Almost 3 wide. They get it done though. Nice. Oh, and Scouts
no,
gets
Vettega.
turned around. Straightened up as well though, so not too bad in the grand scheme of things. Probably not what Scani wanted, but at least he got straightened up, JP.
Yeah, no, didn't really lose too many positions. I think he only lost one there. Joshua Vettega back on the back. What? Oh man, speak English, please. Joshua Vettega back into this little battle pack here. He is looking to get through it again after losing out a couple of positions side by side with Ferguson. Ferguson will certainly lose out there. Shazran onto the back of him now, looking for a move into the final corner. Not able to do that. We have Paul Brett also joining. Ferguson very nearly gets turned around there, but luckily Shaz is able to pull out of it.
Yeah, and this mid pack is looking very angry and wanting to get their positions in for the final race, but could be cool if we were able to go on board somewhere in the middle of this angry pack and see how much opposite lock the drivers are getting in these wet conditions, JP.
Yeah, for sure. Scani there, very deep into turn 2. That's going to allow Vettega to get through. Will it allow the other Vettega through too? Scani does give him a little bit of space on the inside, looking for a good run coming down to Sunset. Lexus versus Ferrari. Joshua is on the inside here. He will be defending. Don't think the Lexus has the ability to go around the outside in Sunset, and I am proven correct. And it looks like Ferguson is looking for something on Scani, but Scani manages to get back into a defensive position. Just to point out that Herbert and Gibbo and Kyrudin have absolutely cleared off at the front. Kyrudin is now into P3, so he will be looking to chase down Gibbo at the front, but the gap is a good fair few seconds as we wait for the timing table to update. Oh, Mike Reel there. Very, very nearly spears off the track. Kyrudin is 8 seconds behind Gibbo. That is a lot of time to make up in not much laps.
Yeah, and a few of the cars just a bit prone to understeering coming down that straight into the right-hander, as we are now on board with Thistleweight in the Nissan, so he is right on the back bumper of Real. Sorry, is that Real? No, that's Taylor. Yeah. Too wide around the final corner and onto the straight. Not the best exit there for Thistleweight, unfortunately. Bit of wheel spin and not quite on the racing line there. But bit of defending going on up ahead, JP.
Yeah, Kyrudin trying to go to the inside. Taylor still trying to make it work. Kyrudin squeezes him out and Taylor backs out. Mike Reel is the great benefactor there as he gets past on Kyrudin around the outside of turn 2. Back here we have Doug Wilson, Michael Pickford, Shane McLaws. There's an Audi of Tom Kidman there as well. Steve Lewis in a Ferrari. Gunther Rao, who is currently has a 10-second penalty. Brad McDonald on the back of that. An absolute cluster of cars here just battling it out. Positions changing corner by corner. This is fantastic racing throughout the field here.
I've just seen in the chat, JP, that Thistleweight in P6 in the Nissan is on slick, so that would explain the lack of traction coming out of the final corner. So he will be hoping that this rain stops sooner rather than later and the track can dry up a bit, and he will have an advantage despite the green tyres at the end, as we see Brad McDonald trying to go around the outside here of Gunther Rowe, and they are getting it done. Where will they come out after the hairpin? It's looking like Gunther's gonna hold the defensive line, but yes, Brad goes a little deep there.
Matt Nipperis there looking to gather some benefit from this battle between McDonald and Rao. They've made contact twice already. Very close to Rao there. And he backs out of it. Rao very nearly spears off the track there. Nipperis tries one up the inside of McDonald there. Can he make it stick? McDonald tries to keep it around the outside again with a side-by-side into Cheetah. Will somebody yield? McDonald does sort of yield, and they actually make a 2x2 through Cheetah work. I wasn't aware that that's a thing that actually happens, but they pulled it off.
It takes a lot of courage, but great awareness and track space given by both drivers there. Not a margin to spare for that Honda, so great job there, boys.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I think there's a few of the cars. You see Thistleweight there with an absolute send into turn 1. Unfortunately, makes contact with Taylor there. Bit of a bump pass. 3 wide.
Oh my God.
Gets squeezed. Gunther Rowe is off in turn 2. Doug Wilson gets squeezed by McLaws there. Pickford loses out a couple of positions. Tom Kidman tries one around the outside of Pickford.
Yeah, that was a bit of an AMG sandwich there. Is it a sandwich if the AMG's on the inside, or do you need two AMGs on the outside for it to be a sandwich, Shepherd?
No, it's when AMG is on the inside, it's an AMG sandwich. It's what
Correct. Just checking. As we see Pickford trying to get along the side of
Kidman, sorry to interrupt. Kidman with an absolute send manages to pull it up just in time and not make contact with Pickford. Pickford's certainly been in the wars in these two races. He has not had a single easy lap where he's not been under pressure or being bumped into, so certainly getting a workout in that motion rig harness that he has with his fantastic setup. If you haven't seen it, go and have a look in the Discord channel. He has posted it in the IRL photos. So Becketts getting a penalty there.
Yeah, and it's like this rain has just put on some great racing. The field has remained so close since the safety car went back into the pit lane, so I almost think wet racing it's been pretty clean too. So awesome to see everyone so tight and close together and just fighting constantly in the mid pack.
Yeah, it's something we see fairly often in the wet. You get, I think people just become slightly more sort of, oh, speaking of that, Pickford with an absolute send into the final corner. Bumps Doug Wilson out of the way. Tom Kidman says, I'll have some of that, thank you very much. He's trying to follow Pickford through, taking the slipstream of Pickford. Will he be able to make something work on Pickford coming into turn 2? He pulls out of the slipstream. Pickford pulls over to the fend. Kidman moves back over, trying one around the outside. Very late on the brakes. Is he going to make that work? Pickford squeezing out a little bit. Kidman is there. He's allowed to be on the inside there. Pickford does give him enough space and they make it work. Doug Wilson gets bullied again there by Nipperus. He's off the track, chopping and changing. Kidman is off track. He loses out to about 3 or 4 cars. This is just so much chopping and changing. It's impossible to keep up with who is where in this little pack here.
Absolutely, especially when the Delta isn't necessarily always up to date, as we see everyone making it around Sunset on board with the backer Jake McCullough's car, as we see behind him Kidman and Appreciato dueling it out before the S's, but it's looking like that Appreciato has tucked in behind there. Good decision. As we see back here, it's Paul Britt, I believe.
Yep, he has made his way up from the back of the field, so he's having a good recovery here. We see Barrelon and Pass. Oh, Barrelon just understeers into Pass, and both of them, Barrelon with a 720, Pass with nearly a 360, not quite as impressive, but unfortunately both of them off track. Appreciato, Becketts side by side coming into Mineshaft in these conditions. That is very brave, but he makes it work. Late on the brakes into Crocodiles. Kidman and McKellar has made contact. Kidman is around. McKellar manages to keep it going. 3 wide into Cheetah. Can we make this work? 2x2 has worked. No, one of them back out. And Becketts backs out as well. Appreciato off the track. He's gone wide. Hopefully rejoins safely there. 3, 4 cars, 5 cars close to each other coming into the final corner. Britt is going to be a big benefactor here. Hopefully can get a good run on Appreciato ahead of him and make a move into turn 1. Looks as though Doug Wilson has got a great run out of the final corner. They are side by side.
And great avoidance by Doug Wilson too, with that Sun car parked right on the track. He couldn't have been a millimetre closer, but he made it through alive. As we see him going around turn 2, right in behind him, we have Doug Wilson. Becketts, yep, sorry.
Paul Britt has made the move there on Appreciato, and Ferguson gets through on Becketts as well. Again, just constantly every single corner there is some kind of position change. This is absolutely fantastic racing. There is a little bit of door banging here and there, but that is pretty standard for GT3 racing. So far it is fairly clean overall.
Yep, Ascari tucked in there in P19 behind Becketts, and as I say that, he goes around, so that's unfortunate for Ascari there. We might have to get a replay of that one.
Looks as though Shaz maybe just gone a little bit deep on the brakes and put one onto the rear quarter panel there. Ascari giving him.
I think that's the second time Ascari may have been turned around this race, as we see Doug Wilson on the outside of Bedingford. A little bit of a door bang, a little bit cheeky, but both cars keep it straight as they make their way down the straight. So good hard racing. I don't know if the stewards will frown upon that one, JP, as we see Appreciato deep on the brakes.
Was McKellar just very early on the brakes there, or because Appreciato just made him look like he was standing still there? I'm not sure if he was able to make something work. Wilson and Ferguson still freaking battling with all their might. We see Connor Hein go a little bit wide there on the outside of Charles Clark. Charles Clark with a send up the inside. Can he pull it up? He manages to stick on Apex. They are 3 wide on the exit here. Ferguson with a great exit. A drag race between the BMW and the Aston Martin. Does Charles Clark give him the space to file in ahead of him? It seems that the Aston has the legs on the BMW. Ferguson moves across to the fend. Vettiger around the outside. Charles Clark, is he going to make it 3 wide into turn 2? No, smarter decision is made and he backs out of it. Ferguson able to defend against Vettiger there, and they file back into single file. Charles Clark almost up inside there of Vettiger again. And he's so close. There's so many close calls in this.
Yeah, and I was surprised as we see a replay there. And yeah, Doug Wilson could not have been any closer there. Luckily, he escapes through the inside of that turn. As we go back to sunset, Doug Wilson just in front of Benny Ferg, followed by Vettiger, Clark, Hind, and Chaz. Yeah.
James Lawrence, he's had a fairly quiet race. We haven't really seen him much. He's the lead AM driver. I think he's the only AM driver who is driving today. I'm not sure. But yeah, Doug Wilson sticking out his tongue to Ferguson behind him. Maybe that is why Ferguson bumped him on the previous lap. They are going nose to tail. And the background there, we see Charles Clark side by side with somebody as well. Connor Hein trying to make something work around the outside of Charles Clark. Shazran just behind them, hoping to benefit from any mistakes made by either of the BMW drivers there. So far, none of those are manifesting. Charles Clark defending in the middle of the track there. Just so much chopping, chaining. Ferguson and Wilson side by side. Will Ferguson back out into Cheetah? He has, and Wilson stays ahead of him. That's going to compromise a couple of drivers there, as we see Charles Clark up the inside again of Vettiger, not quite able to get a good run, and that's going to allow Hind around the outside, and they have a drag race coming down to turn 2. You see a replay here, Josh?
Yep, and we're watching our replay now, and it looks like Shaz just lost control of his car and it oversteered under braking into Scan, so that's just unfortunate for both of them there. Real shame. But I was just gonna say, before we went to that replay, GP, I was clinching last lap at turn 2 just how much curb Connor Hein was taking whilst braking, but it didn't seem to make a difference. Normally when you brake on the curbs in the wet, it just doesn't end well. So
well, yeah, as you saw there with Shaz, he braked on the curb and it ended in catastrophe for him and Scani. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's maybe just a slightly different type of curb or car dependent, but yeah, Hind not being too affected by them.
It does look like the rain may have stopped, JP, as we look at Doug Wilson in front of Benny Ferg and Vettiger. Connor Hein tucked in behind there.
We get an update there from race control. Rain has officially stopped, but there is another shower due before the end of the race.
Right, and I see Thistleweight has dropped back to 11th, so obviously those slicks, they're got to be hard at the moment, but he will be loving seeing that the rain has stopped, even if it is only temporarily. Yeah,
I don't think he'll be able to get much out of those tires regardless of the conditions at the moment, but hopefully he can get back up into that top 10 as we see Connor Hein and Ashley Vettiger coming through mineshaft side by side. Hein is officially ahead, and Charles Clark trying to follow him through on the outside of Ashley Vettiger here, coming through Crocodiles. They are side by side again into Cheetah. Does Vettiger back out? He certainly does. Charles Clark able to take a slightly compromised line there, but given enough space to make it work. See a 10-second penalty there for Alexander Barallon for causing a collision. It's surprising that Karun hasn't really been able to get through this little pack that he's in. He's struggling, but Vettiger, who has made up a load of positions along with Niparis, definitely fighting through this pack rather effectively. I think all this battling in this mid pack here is allowing certain drivers that manage to get through to clear off into the distance.
As we see Brad McDonald here closing the gap down to Thistleweight. It'll be interesting to see whether he goes for a move out of the corner, given that the Ferrari is typically so bad on acceleration and the Nissan isn't, or whether he'll go for a move under braking. But either one could work. It's just which will he opt for, JP?
I would say, based on what I've seen between the two cars, I would say his best opportunity is coming out of the SS. The Ferrari very strong through the SS, and I don't think the GTR is the best through here. As we see, Thistleweight is very twitchy coming through there. Does get a decent exit though. He might get a warning for that, but that won't be the most of his concerns at the moment. McDonald's not the best of exits. but he is fairly close to Ferox here, not being able to make anything work. But that GTR acceleration is just so frustrating to deal with if you're not in something
Right.
equivalent.
Yeah, and I mean, McDonald's wheel work looking so nice there, so smooth, fluid, no offset lock, just nice and in control in that shell Ferrari. So it may just be a matter of time until he gets this move done, potentially setting it up out of the final corner to try and get it done in turn 2 after the king, which is technically turn 1, but shouldn't really be a corner change.
Well, I'm not the one who designed the track, so you're going to have to take that up with somebody else. But unfortunately, it is technically turn 2. Let's see if McDonald is able to make something work as they come through turn 1. Flat out, absolutely committed to it. Oh, McDonald actually has a little moment there coming through turn 1, surprisingly. So it is technically a turn.
Yeah, that
But
1 millimeter curve making its presence known to the Ferrari.
yeah, you can see just how much he closes up into some of the technical bits here as we see Joshua Vettiger move onto the outside. Oh, that is Michael Pickford into the wall very, very hard. Vettiger and McLaws going side by side in the wet through sunset. That is absolutely phenomenal racing by both of them. Vettiger makes it stick. He does, of course, have that 10-second penalty, so he's going to have to get a move on if he wants to keep some of these positions. But in the background there, we see Paul Britt attacking Matt Nippers as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually missed what happened there to Pickford. I was grabbing my drink bottle, but I've just about been going cross-eyed this whole race, looking at the delta and what's happening on track with how many battles. But it does look like the field has spaced out slightly more now that the rain has stopped. So we're on board with Vettiger, looking back at Taylor and Nicholas, and I think it's Brett.
Yeah, McLaws as well. Nippers there, Taylor. A little bit of a bit of a swerve there from McLaws. Firelord in chat saying track conditions are now greasy, so this is where those runners on the slick tires will start getting the benefit.
Yeah, Thistle wait.
Whoa, Steve Lewis, very, very, very late on the brakes there. He has braked for Cheetah before Crocodile, so that is not ideal. This out to Jake McKellar there. This little battle pack of BMWs with Ashley Vettiger in the back. They are still just fighting it out.
Yeah, Ben Berg and Clark both have that 5-second penalty, so even though Connor Hine will be looking to get past them and catching up with Doug up ahead in the Porsche, he does technically have these positions as it stands in terms of time when the race finishes.
See there, a couple of penalties coming through, one for Pickford for dangerous driving as well as Tom Kidman for dangerous driving. So a couple of these incidents are starting to rack up the penalties. Charles Clark tries around the outside of Ferguson. He is given the space. Will he get a good run into turn 3? Ferguson doesn't back out. There's a little bit of contact. He goes over. There is a sausage curve there. Can he avoid Connor Hine? Connor Hine backs out of it smartly there.
Wise
There was a
move there by Connor Hine.
steering.
Yeah, that curve can make for some terrible rejoins, so great job there by Connor Hine backing out of it and leaving him room to make sure he can navigate his way back onto the track safely. Looking to stick the nose up around the outside, leading up into the S's, but not quite enough of a run there to get it done. And we check back in on Paul Brett, and what position is he in right now? P9.
In this battle, Matt Nippers up the inside of McLaws there, gets a good run. That Honda acceleration is so much better than the McLaren. He is clear by the time they get to Mineshaft. A little bit of a puddle there. You can see a bit of a splash when McLaws went through there. Paul Brett will be looking to get through. Keeping. Ooh, Matt Nippers very deep under the brakes. Looks like he locked the rears a little bit. And Paul Brett is the one that loses out there. That is very unfortunate for him. I think there was not much he could have done to avoid that.
No, just collateral damage in that one, so that's unfortunate for Paul Brett. But Appreciado having a great race, doing pretty well so far as we go across the start-finish line, getting towards the end of this race now, as we see Benny Ferguson and Connor Hine coming around the final corner 2 wide. Drag race down the quotation mark straight, JP.
As they come into turn 1 side by side, it takes a brave man to go through such a tricky corner, but they make it work. And Connor Hine is ahead. He does try to defend Ferguson, has to back out of that eventually. And Connor Hine does get the position. He will try and sprint away of Ferguson now. I think Hine and Clark maybe had the pace advantage over Ferguson, but just with all the battling, They have been sticking together. Ferguson now faces the pressure from, as we see, Paul Britt with an epic drift. No, that's not Paul Britt, that's Sweden Dickinson, sorry. But Shazran and Dickinson. Will somebody back out? Yeah, Shazran is able to move ahead. And they come through Sunset. Dickinson getting squeezed there by Neil Wood.
Absolutely, and yeah, you can see that the track is drying out, but there is still quite a bit of moisture off the racing line, so definitely have to just be cautious of that when you're getting on the brakes here.
Yeah, if we can potentially get an update on how much time is remaining. I'm not sure how many laps are remaining. We don't have the
43 seconds, so very, very close to the end here. I'm not quite sure where the leader is. There's probably going to be one more for sure, actually. Yeah, definitely.
I think he should be on the final lap as it is now. He has absolutely annihilated the rest of the field here.
Yes. So we see Nipris about to commence his final lap, and he is very closely followed there.
Just on the inside of McLaws, again, side by side here, coming through turn one. He should be able to get this move done into turn two rather comfortably, unless McLaws is an absolute hero under the brakes. Certainly trying to be one, tries to stick it around the outside, but Nipris will be able to just squeeze ahead. And McLaws now will be getting some pressure from Appreciado and Thistlewaite behind. Only one lap remaining, so Thistlewaite knows that is the case. He tries with the little send of the inside, and unfortunately he loses out there as Appreciado shuts the door.
Lucky to straighten it up there, and Appreciado just kept on going, like it was just swatting in that. So that was pretty lucky there for Appreciado that he didn't get spun around there too. So nice car control.
Yeah, no, fantastic. It's just an unfortunate little. It's such a tricky corner, as we've said, to try and make an overtake work. And as you saw there, that's usually how those attempts end.
Yeah, still a very aggressive battle going on back here for P19 and 18. Brett looks to get up the inside of Edgar as we come back to the leader, and that will be Regan Herbert taking P1 in season 11 race, or round 7 race 2, JP. So
Yeah, no,
congratulations to Mr. Herbert.
fantastic performance by him there. As you can see, he had an unfortunate race one, but when he gets to race from the grid position, he does get a good result. Gibbo crosses the line there in P2. Fairly simple race for him, I would say. Mike Reel with a podium, and our lead pro-am. Fantastic performance by him there.
Great
Ali
drive.
Karuden crosses the line in P4 with the fastest lap, Joshua Vettiger. Fantastic recovery from him. He does, of course, have to serve that penalty, but he is followed by Christopher Taylor, Matt Nipris, and Shane McLaws. Wilke Appreciado has crossed the line in P9.
And it
Battle
looks
for
like Benny Ferg is going to hang on and fend off Vittiger here, and Paul Britt just not far, less than a car length behind. So
Kidman with an additional penalty just as he is about to cross the line. That will pretty much take him out of contention. Ben Van Dam and Benjamin Piper and Fab Moraz, your last cast across the line. Fab Moraz, after a fantastic race one, got bullied a little bit early in this race and lost out quite a bit, and he will be the last car on track to cross the line.
what a season, eh? And what a final race for Ascari, another wet one. So, God, I'm tired after that one, JP, and I wasn't even in a car.
Yeah, no, for sure. The wet ones are the best ones, it seems, and as Fab crosses the line there, that is the end of the season for Split Ascari. He looks as though he is approaching a wall at great speed. Now he has started braking. He is not doing a big diff. And we will get a quick view of the final results here of the final race for Split Ascari. Of course, your winner is Reagan Herbert, Callum Gibbons in P2, and Mike Reel in P3. In the Pro-Am class, we have Mike Reel in P1, Christopher Taylor in P2, Shane McLaws in P3. And in the AM class, Derek Nagel, James Lawrence, and Alex Barallon rounds out the podium in that class. That was some fantastic racing, Josh, and we need to ask the question, who is your driver of the day for Split Ascari?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to have a quick look at that list again. But I think that there was so many. I think that Appreciado did pretty good, but I'd have to see who finished where relative to where they started.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go for Gibbo as my driver of the day. He stayed clean and got a good result in both races. Of course, Herbert put in a fantastic performance in that second race. But yeah, Gibbo will get my vote for driver of the day.
Yeah, I mean, Herbert, just flawless race, really. Great job by him. So after that unfortunate internet cutout in race one, so great drive there to redeem himself in race two and the final race of the season.
Speaking of unfortunate incidents, we are joined by Tom Maloney. Tom, how are you?
I am very good, Peach. How are you?
Yeah, very good. I am tired already from that race, and we are at the end of qualifying here, so we are about to jump into the next race. So no time to rest, but hopefully the Becketts can live up to their name and give us some more fantastic racing as we saw from Ascari.
And isn't that a great livery on that Honda? I guess it's a sort of tribute to the old Falcons, so that Marcus Ambrose used to drive. So yeah, that's a cool livery.
As we see Rialto Ristofani steal pole position right at the end of qualifying here with a 140.6. Lucas Burr is currently sitting in second position and Shady Samuel in third position, only 10 1,000ths behind Burrs. So most of the drivers now on their final laps. That Aston Martin is finished with qualifying, but we should see still some shaking up throughout the grid as qualifying comes to an end.
Definitely. Luca Giacomin a little bit out of position there in P8, second off the pace, so we expect him to put a better lap in.
Yeah, I'm sure he should be able to put something more impressive together. He is generally at the pointy end of the field, so he should be able to get there, maybe getting caught up in traffic.
Has he wrapped up the championship?
I have not looked at that yet, but he has not. The Mario Haslam is only 81 points behind, so there is the potential for a change up there. I shall be back in 2 minutes.
No worries, JP. And just wanted to say I had a quick skim through, and I think Thistleweight would be my pick for driver of the night in Ascari. The fact that he managed to do that race in tries was pretty remarkable. So yeah, great job by Thistleweight.
Great job by you, Josh. Excellent second race in front of the microphone from Mute.
Yeah,
Very impressive work.
there was so much going on there, Tom. So yeah, as I already previously said, just about going cross-eyed trying to watch the Delta and what is happening on track. So
It's an acquired skill, mate, but you're well and truly on the way. So great to have you in here, mate. It's nice hearing you, and look forward to what you can do next season with us.
yeah, thanks, man, and good luck to everybody in Becketts tonight. I'm sure they will put on another great show.
Hopefully, it's not wet though, so we're missing that part of the content that you had. So
Mm-hmm.
go and rest your legs, mate. Well done. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
buddy. Have a good night, everybody. Cheers.
So we wait for all the cars to do their setups, and as I just noted before, bone dry, nice and sunny.
And I am back. Sorry for the delay. Ristofani on pole. I was not expecting that, to be honest.
Porsche's rapid, and
Porsche
Rialto's
is
rapid
rapid.
on his
He
day.
is.
So
No, it's not that I wasn't expecting him to be rapid. I kind of assume when Lucas Burrs is on track that he generally gets pole because he's just one of those drivers who's capable of it. But as we are waiting for them to start their pace lap here, let's take a quick look at the results or the standings as we come into the final two races for them. Luca Giacomin is in the lead. He is 81 points ahead of the Mario Haslam, 818 points versus 716 points versus 635 points. Lucas Burrs is in P3, is 157 points behind Giacomin, so he is not able to get ahead regardless of what happens. In the Pro-Am class, we have Taufik Moyin is the leading Pro-Am driver with 389 points. Ramesh Samuel is second with 334. And Stefan Bechtold is third with 268 points. So there's a potential for a change up in the lead there with Moyin. He's only about 50 points behind. So it's possible to make up that gap. And then in the AM class, we have Mohamed Zikri leading with 130 points. followed very, very closely by the defending champion in the AMP last name, Jano Percolini. Only 4 points in that battle, so we'll have to keep a close eye on that if both of them are driving. I see a Bentley there, so Zikri is certainly driving. And then Zach Graham is in P3 on 88 points, so he has the potential to maybe catch up if he gets a fantastic result, but he is quite far behind.
Definitely, Damiano's given him his every chance. He's at P14 after qualifying, ahead of Ramed Samuel, who's fighting for that Pro-Am title. So as you said, he's not made his job any harder than it needed to be.
Yeah, he's been fairly unlucky in some races early in the season, so he's lost out here and there, but generally when he's able to keep it on track and keep it out of incidents, he gets some very good results. So hopefully they can have a little bit of a battle in these two races. He's in prime position to potentially get into that reverse grid pole, so not too far away from that.
Yep, safety car's off, and ugly liver round is Saturday night. This is a normal safety car livery, if you're wondering.
What do you mean? That's not ugly. It's horrific. It's yeah.
It's a matter of personal taste.
It's certainly a livery. Of all the liveries I've seen, it's one of them. But yeah, as these guys have had a fairly exciting season. The last race was not too bad. The round before that, we had a very incident-packed race, I would say, would be a potentially politically correct way of stating it was a cluster. But hopefully they can have some good clean racing. As we saw on Ascari, there was quite a lot of incidents, but a lot of side-by-side racing and some very, very tight battles throughout the pack. So hopefully we see a little bit more of that.
And a couple of fast guys in the back on quali band as well. So Jacob Weatherburn, Mark Bushell. We'll definitely see some. If the front settles down, the guys coming from the back will be one to watch as well.
Yeah, and as we saw on that first race of Split Ascari, Matt Lamb made up 8 positions in one corner, so there's the potential to make up a fair chunk of positions should things play out in your favor.
And everyone else is very, very compliant, I think is the one of the main controllers there.
Yeah, absolutely. As this car start going into double file here, the safety car will keep them at 80 kilometers an hour until the pack has completely bunched up, at which stage the safety car will peel off into the pits and Split Becketts will get going for race 1 of round 7 of the Simrigs Sprint Series in Octane Online Racing. We're going to give it over to Tom Maloney to lead us away one last time for this season.
Beautiful. Plain white Porsche versus baby blue Honda. You'd back the Honda in with the straight line speed, but as we've seen before, some of these starts can be pretty fickle. So front guys need to do a bit of sorting out of that grid. It's not looking its best, but Rialto leads them around the final corner. Lucas Burst lines up with him, and we wait for the green light to go. We keep waiting, and we're going. Lucas definitely got the jump on Rialto there. He's managed to get his nose in front. Is he going to push him narrow onto the apex of the corner? No, he's giving him room. We've got Demario Hasnam poking his nose up the inside of Rialto, but can't make it stick into turn 1. So Lucas Burst leads comfortably out of turn 1. Rialto Ristafani P2. And we have a car park coming up to turn 5, as per usual. So I think that will be a safety car, and it has been deployed. So we will wait for the standings to update. That's not how you do safety cars, boys.
Not ideal. Yeah, that was Flary Malik just went over a curb there and into Shady Samuel, and that led to all kinds of chaos. And the race director has decided that is enough. We are going to Pretoria and we are going to see the union buildings because there's nothing good to see around here.
Any other?
Sure we'll get a replay of that, but there was quite a fair few cars involved there. I think Shady Samuel quite lucky to get away with no damage after getting hit in the side there by Malik. But then there was a lot of cars involved, and you can see Pete Chalmers and Scotty Rockford, they started P13 and 14, and they are up into P7 and 8. So they have had some fantastic starts. They avoided the drama.
And Ramez Samuel, I think, was down in P16, 17 as well. So I think there's a couple of cars that have just disappeared out of that top 10. Mark Bushell off a quali ban up to P22. Luca Giacomin down to P20. A real bad miss in that little melee they had there.
I think he might be looking at a serious penalty as well for that pre-joint under the safety car, as we get a second look at it here. 4 wide into turn 2, and they somehow make that work. And then we will see Fadi Malik there in the Porsche. He just gets up on that curb, bounces in to Samuel, and then he hits Cook, and Cook gets hit by Moyin, and Giacomin cuts across the grass. He gets spun around. And then we are going to see a rather unfortunate rejoin here into the side of Moyin that goes right into the side of Weatherburn as well. Weatherburn tried to stay out of dramas there, but unfortunately it tended to find him. But yeah, just one of those cases. Ooh, that looked like Pete Chalmers should hit the wall under the safety car. I'm not sure if he actually made contact there, but that was quite weird.
Can't see any significant damage on the car, but
It wasn't just me, right? He pulled to the completely right of the track there near the wall.
I did have my eyes off the screen at that second, unfortunately.
It's quite weird, but yeah, just one of those cases where one driver had to pull out and decided not to, and yeah, we end up with an incident. It's one of those things in life when you decide not to pull out, you have to deal with the consequences. And Fadi Malik finding that out the hard way. Stefano Ricciuti up into P5 as well. We will be looking to stick to the back of Shady Samuel and Hasnan towards the front. Potentially get a good result here. Pete Viney sitting in provisional pole for the reverse grid race.
I think Aaron McIntosh as well in the Lexus got unfortunately caught up in all that as well. So I don't know if we'll have another lap of safety car. Car 219, Jacob Weatherburn, is out of the pit lane and moving along. So I suspect he will catch up. The safety car will come in at the end of this lap. And we can get going again. We don't like 2 laps under safety car in 20-minute races. It's a bit too long.
I'm sure he should be able to catch up with the pack by the end of this race. End of this lap, potentially. I mean, if he doesn't manage it by the end of the race, then something's gone wrong. But yeah, end of this lap, he should be able to rejoin the back of the pack. We should go racing with Lucas Burrs leading us away. He had a very good start from P2 and managed to get ahead of Ristofani. Hasnam, of course, winning out there with Malik going off track. He has gained a free position on Shady Samuel as well. So should be an interesting restart. They seem to be slowing down a fair chunk because Birds will be taking control of the pack. Safety car should speed away. We haven't gotten confirmation yet, but I'm pretty confident. Yep,
Eyeball's saying thinks it's in, so
yep, Lucas Burrs is in control of the pack. There we get the confirmation from race control, so he is able to go whenever he sees fit after the final corner. Will he go early? I'm sure he will, as the Honda does have the legs on the Porsche. He won't be worried about getting attacked there. He gone very early there. Rastafani gets all out of shape on the exit there. Maybe that has compromised him. We will see if Hasnam has got a good run. It doesn't appear as though he will be able to add the pressure, but Ricciuti is right on the back of Samuel here. I don't think he'll be close enough to get anything done. Brad Cook flying up the inside of Chalmers. Chalmers defends, squeezes him a little bit, and just manages to compromise him enough. Ramez Samuel looking for a move around the outside of Cook, not able to make that work. Able back in behind. Chalmers trying to put some pressure here on Scotty Rockford. Scotty Rockford's certainly been improving leaps and bounds, and especially with his new gear, he is definitely one to watch as this race continues. But a lot of
pro
pressure.
class.
Yep, he's definitely a pro. We can all agree on that by now. But Brad Cook putting a lot of pressure on Chalmers here. 4 Hondas here in a row, so it should be an interesting little battle between this pack here. Oh, that is Malik quite wide at the exit of Sunset. Weatherburn says thank you very much and slips at the inside there. Settled in behind Aaron McIntosh. These guys are going to have to fight all the way from the back here. There we
Top
go.
30.
Oof.
Boom.
It's the stewards taking out the big stick and giving Luka Jacoma a stop go 30 for that unfortunate rejoin under the safety car.
Zach Graham in the Audi's had a problem at the top hairpin as well. He's dropped back to P27. That won't help him in his championship battle.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Graham was always a bit of an outside chance in that AM battle, and any unfortunate incidents for him would certainly put an end to that challenge. See, he's got it off with a great exit there as we get a replay here of what happened to Zach Graham. He just braked on the grass there, and the car said loop. And that is the end of that battle for him. Bloody Malik with a 15-second penalty for that incident on lap 1 as well.
He was getting out the big old sticks tonight.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when they don't listen, you need to use the big sticks. As we see Malik there, not sure if he's still facing some damage, but that Porsche is looking like a right handful, and he was not quite able to keep a hold of it. He loses it going through the S's.
Brad Cook is piling on the pressure for Pete Chalmers here. And James Kefford with the drive-through for causing a collision on that one. So shares in large sticks in the steward room are spiking.
I can't recall seeing Power 32's incident on lap 1, but it must have been a nice one if it warrants this one of the biggest sticks that the stewards are allowed to use. Chalmers here right on the back of Rockford. Looks up the inside, late on the brakes. Ooh. Rockford just tries to close the door, but Chalmers is still there side by side. Through Cheetah, we have seen many times this doesn't work. And again, the lesson is the same. Scotty closing the door, Chalmers didn't back out and unfortunately loses out. Ben Dyke does a little sympathy 360 there and keeps going and forces a car into the pit lane. That is very unfortunate there.
Oh, he got a penalty anyway.
Okay, that was quite a coincidence there.
32 is a safety car infraction,
Okay,
not a collision, so...
So Ben Dyke manages to keep going. He is under pressure from Mark Bushell now. Mark Bushell up into P18 already after starting from the back of the grid. Steve Lewis looking up the inside there of McIntosh. He backs out quite early there, and check whether Ben has gotten past Aaron McIntosh already. He will be looking to move up the field after that lap 1 incident as well.
Lucas Burst not able to get too far away from Rialto. All about sort of 1 second-ish gaps this top 5 here, so no one's particularly comfortable as Scotty Rockford goes pretty wide there and allows Brad Cook through on the inside of the S's. Hopefully not running with too much damage after that incident with Chalmers at Cheetah.
I don't think it would have caused him too much damage. It was just a little side impact, so hopefully he's able to continue unaffected, but he will be coming under some pressure from Ramesh Samuel behind him. Damiano Thurklini running in P10 at the moment, so fantastic performance by him so far. Certainly doing what he needs to do to win that AM championship. You see where is Muhammad Zikri, his closest competitor, is in P16 at the moment, so this is the battle for your reverse grid pole. You see Matt Powell on P12 under a lot of pressure from Dion Scarman in that Honda. Luka Giacomin just behind him. He is going to have to serve that 30-second stop and go penalty, so he is no longer taking part in this battle.
Pete Moyen, after I think he had a bit of trouble at the start, has managed to make up a few positions as well, so he is leading the Pro-Am class as we said before, so he's doing his best to... That reverse grid pole would be very handy for him if he could manage to hold that down.
Yeah, absolutely. He was one of those unfortunate ones that got involved in that rejoin on lap 1, so certainly not running where he wants to run. Ooh, looks as though Thurklini has gone a little bit wide there, coming under pressure from Pete Viney. Ivani swerves to the inside just to try and scare Percolini. Percolini, being a seasoned veteran at this game, says no thank you, I'll just take my normal line, and stays ahead of Ivani there. Chalmers with a 10-second penalty. That would be for the incident on Ascari Rockbird coming into Peter. Replay here. And that would be of that incident. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Quite lucky for Rockbird there to keep the car facing in the right direction. So easy for the physics to send the car around there, but luckily enough he keeps going straight and only doesn't really lose out any points.
Definitely unlucky that, you know, apart from the car that had a sympathy spin, that, you know, everyone that was stopped was off the track. Because that's not a corner where you want to see a car 90 degrees to the track as you come over the curb on the inside.
Yeah, generally when you see it, it's when you make impact, pretty much, unfortunately. So it's an easy one to avoid. You see Matty Powell, our rookie master, he is sitting in reverse grid 12. Ivani is putting a lot of pressure on Percolini here. He's got a great run. The Honda might be able to get alongside here, but Percolini is going defensive. Not quite ultra defensive, but enough to make Ivani think that he's going to do it. Ivani still pokes a nose up the inside. Bit of a squeeze from Percolini, drives him slightly wide, but he gets good exit out of turn 2. Side by side coming up into the XK sweep. Will Ivani be able to get alongside enough? We've seen a couple of incidents here, but Percolini gives him a lot of room. That's going to compromise and move him down into P12. Potentially, if Matt Powell can get ahead by the time they reach sunset. Percolini leaving the nose in there. Will he back out? Yep, he backs out and lets Powell take the position. We see Tawfiq Mohin and Dion Scarman go side by side through sunset. Tricky to do in any car, but especially tricky in something like the Honda. They are still side by side coming into the SS. This is where we generally see a couple of incidents with the curbs. Will they be able to make it work? Tawfiq Mohin is ahead by this stage. He does compromise his line a little bit, and Scarman is still next to him. They are still side by side coming up into Leocop. Will he be able to outbrake him? He's late on the brakes, goes very deep. Scarman takes the inside line. That's going to compromise a little bit of a side-by-side contact there. Not the end of the world, but that is the end of the battle for now as they finally go back to front again.
Fantastic and fair racing from both of these guys. As Scarman gives an absolute send up the inside there. And again, both the cars leaving each other room. Don't go side by side through Cheetah, guys. Come on. Well,
they made it work, a little bit of contact, but that has compromised them greatly. And Zikri has joined this battle along with Jacob Weatherburn, who is slowly but surely making his way up the field. Only 5-6 minutes remaining, but he is potentially able to get towards that P13 if he can get through these couple of guys quick enough. And with the amount of little bumps and pushes that Scarman and Mohin are applying to each other, it's very likely that he can do that as he goes up the inside of Zikri. Zikri will try to stay up the inside here of turn 3. Manages to get through there for Weatherburn, and he moves up into P15. Oh, that is very wide there from Scarman. Will that compromise him enough to allow Weatherburn? Weatherburn gets a good run coming to Sunset. Will they make it side by side? Scarman has proven that he can do that, although he does compromise his line a little bit there. Weatherburn is ahead. That's going to give Zikri a run into the next corner. Bushel up the inside. McIntosh makes it 3 wide. Absolutely fantastic driving here by all of these drivers. Zikri loses out to McIntosh coming into the SS there, and McIntosh applying pressure to the back of Bushel here.
Going up the inside of Leocop. Makes it work.
I don't think the Porsche is going to have the legs to get anything done coming down the hill. Look how small it looks compared to the Lexus.
Nice, and fits in that slipstream nicely.
Yeah, no, it nearly fits into the exhaust basically. That's the size of it, but not able to get anything done on McIntosh. He's going to have a very hard time to get through and anything resembling a straight line unless McIntosh makes a mistake.
Reminder as well, unfortunately, those guys on Qualiban see Jacob Weatherburns, Mark Bushels, those guys there. Even if they get P12, they will not get reverse grid poles. They are also going to start from the back of the grid for the second race.
It's the unfortunate reality of getting a few too many penalties and making the stewards put you in the naughty corner. So unfortunately, they will be sitting there for another qualifying session. But Bushell is applying a lot of pressure to McIntosh. You can see Porsche is just so much better through the twisty bits, but then that Lexus just goes brrr when there's anything in a straight line.
Yeah, Aaron made an absolute mess of that corner onto the back straight there, but still the Lexus just absolutely made up for all of that. Didn't let Mark have even a look into making a move on him.
It's risky dipping a wheel on there. It's so easy for the car just to quickly spear off into that wall, but he manages to keep it safe. Scotty Rockford here, he has a little bit of a gap to Pete Viney behind him now. Not a particularly big gap, but he's very close to Samuel ahead of him as well. So very tight little battle group here. Matt Powell and Damiano Fercolini, your reverse grid poles at the moment, but I think we might see Moyin and Weatherburn start closing up on them. You see Lucas Burst there with a 140.4 fastest lap. That is a rather rapid lap time for a race pace.
He's 3.4 seconds ahead of Rialto now, so in a comfortable place with 2.5 minutes to go. As we see a couple of cars go very, very wide at Cheetah here, that'll give Aaron McIntosh a bit of impetus, and that Honda is gone.
That is Raman. Yep, that's unfortunate end to the right couple of laps there for him. He was involved in some fantastic battles, but just overdid it ever so slightly out of Cheetah and couldn't quite put it up.
Keep following Damiano on that reverse grid pole. He's got Taufik Moyin half a second behind him, looking to pounce on his mistake, and Matt Powell as well. Not too far in the distance for those boys as well, and Jacob Weatherburn just hunting and waiting for any more mistakes. I think we've got 2 more laps to go because Lucas Burst is just coming down that back straight into Mineshaft now, so we won't see. We'll see 1 more lap.
So still enough time for Moyin to make something work here on Fercolini and get that reverse grid pole position. Fercolini will certainly be putting up a rather astute defense here. He is on a black and white flag warning for weaving on the straight, so he won't be trying to be too aggressive on defense, but will certainly not make this easy for Taufik to get through. See Moyin with a great run out of Mineshaft there, not quite close enough to make anything work. These guys are approaching the start of their final lap. Weatherburn applying pressure to Moyin. This is probably the best case scenario for Fercolini, is Weatherburn putting a lot of pressure on Moyin and compromising him by battling, allowing Fercolini to get away.
Also got Matt Powell in front as well, giving Fercolini a tow, so it's not like Taufik Damiano's got nothing to work with. He's got a little bit of assistance from Matt in front of him. Aaron McIntosh and Mark Bushell still having a big old ding-dong back behind them as well, so nothing to worry about behind them.
So it was nice and clear by the time they got to turn 1, so only a couple of more corners where overtakes are really a realistic option, and should be able to keep Moyin behind him and keep that reverse grid pole. Currently this top 3 have cleared off a little bit. Teddy Samuel not too far behind them, but not quite able to completely match them on pace today. Pete Viney, Scott Rockford and Romain Samuel there still a line astern. Matty Powell just a little bit ahead of Fercolini. Fercolini very, very closely followed by Moyin and Weatherburn behind him. Coming up to Leo Kopp, this is one of the final opportunities. Moyin not quite close enough to make anything happen. Will he get a good run out of here? Fercolini getting that tow from Matt Powell as we cut to Lucas Burst crossing the line. Absolutely dominant performance. He is 5-6 seconds ahead of Rialto Ristofani.
40.3,
Mario
that's
Hasnam
silly.
and Shady Samuel crosses the line in P4. Stefano Ricciuti having a nice quiet race on his own. Nobody close to him crosses the line in P5. David Barker P6. And we come to the final couple of corners. Moyin with a great run through Cheetah. Oh, that's a very late move from Fercolini. Will be interesting to see what you would say about that. A little bit of a drag race going to happen here. Will the Honda have the legs to get through by the line? Fercolini squeezing him towards the line. He does manage to stay ahead, but I'm really concerned for him there that the stewards might have a bad look at that. Weatherburn not able to benefit from that, but they are followed across the line by McIntosh, who manages to fight off Mark Bushell. Momentarily crosses the line in P17. And Ben Dyke, Pete Chalmers, Stewie Matthews round out the top 20.
Yep, that was definitely a very, very late defensive move. That has to be a penalty. You can't move across when someone sort of selected a line and are ready to sort of break inside you. That's how you get punched up the inside. And shout out to Taufik for backing out of it when he saw that, you know, the car in front wasn't gonna make his life easy.
Yeah, that's certainly well done to avoid the incident there, but yeah, as you said, very, very late move there by Kirklini. I reckon Stewart's might have something to say about that, which is very unfortunate because that will put him out of that reverse grid pole and he will need to qualify. And that there's a couple of fast drivers who lost out in that first race that he will have to deal with come the second race after a fantastic performance in race 1.
Luca Giacomin getting out on track to probably vent some steam after a eventful first race for him, where he definitely didn't sort of get the performance he would have wanted. See what lap time an angry Luca can do. He's got to beat a 40.38 that Lucas Burst was doing on race pace. So interesting to see what he can do from there.
Well, now what he needs to beat is a 39.6 that Matt Lamb did in the previous qualifying. So
are we sure that Matt didn't just delete a corner from the track?
No, I mean, we were on board for most of it, and he seemed to drive the whole track, basically. So,
okay.
I think, I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but from what I saw, I can't say that he definitely cut a corner, but no, he certainly showed what is possible. I'd be very, very surprised if Giacomin can beat that, but I won't be overly surprised if he gets very, very close to it.
And who else we got that's rapid that'll be doing it? Jacob? No, we won't see Jacob Weatherburn. Stefano Risciucci can always put a lap in when he... No, he won't be doing it either. What am I talking about? Luke is the time to beat here for these guys qualifying.
We see Damiano Fercolini is out on track, so I think he has been told to do the qualifying and lose maybe a couple of positions from that first race. So that will mean that Mo Yin will move up into P12 for that first race, putting him on potential pole position for the next race, which will put him in a great position to all but confirm his status as the Pro-Am champion for this season.
Follow Luca through turn 1. Break at about 100 meters for turn 2 and poke the nose in early to sort of really keep it tight, hard left to make it through turn 3 and 4, which are easy flat in the dry in qualifying. And up to turn 5, which is that really awkward little left-hander over the top of the crest.
Into Sunset, taking a lot of commitment here, just a very small dab of the brakes. You can see he's not quite finding that apex, but carrying a lot of speed. Great exit speed there, late on the brakes, just after the 50 meters. You come down to second gear, use all of the exit there. Coming into the SS, look for that end of the curb, just a little dab on the brakes, up nice and tight, try and compromise left-hander to get a good exit out of the right-hander. Again, very good exit there for him. Coming up into the Ocop, uses much of the track on the outside there. Look for the marshal box on the left-hand side for your braking marker. Right exit there. Again, using all of the track. Always important here to shift up before the little bump, otherwise your car will lose a little bit of traction and lose you half a tenth. Coming in Crocodiles, look for that 100 meter put light on the brakes, early on the turn in, very early on the power here. Use as much of the track on the exit as possible. Down into Cheetah, didn't need to touch the brakes there, but just a little lift and looking for the marshal post on the final corner. It was a fast lap, but I think we're looking at like a high 40 if he's gonna cross the line soon. It's a 41.8 actually, much slower than I thought it was.
It didn't hit too many apexes, and you would have seen on screen as Fadi Malek goes top with a 3 that Damiani Thircolini caught 5 seconds for that sort of late defensive move. So that will have moved him down and out of reverse grid pole. So Taufik Moyen will be our race 2 pole setup as we follow Aaron McIntosh here in the sole Lexus for this evening's event.
There's only one Lexus in pretty much every split, I think.
We've got 2 in this one, I'm pretty sure. Just the other one doesn't show up as much as we like.
Ah, okay, who's the other one? That's McIntosh and... Okay, I haven't seen it, but yeah. As we go on board here with Thircolini coming through, Cheetah will be looking to put in a good qualifying performance. He had a fantastic race and just a very little sort of late decision there, a little bit of rush of blood to the head. Made him create a little bit of an unfortunate situation and that dropped him out of that position. But he does put in a very respectable 42.2 there, placing him P5 at the moment.
And Zach Graham in P6 is the secondary AM driver in this little fight. Mitchell Bendock P3 in that little battle as well. They're all very close together.
Mohamed Zikri has set that up a 42.8, so it's looking as though Thircolini is doing enough here to get that championship sealed, depending on what happens in the second race. But Zikri is going to have to pull something magical out of the bag to get that win over Thircolini, I would think.
Definitely. Luca Giacomin has done a 41 flat, so obviously that first lap was a bit of a warm-up for him, finding his radar.
I am wondering if this track is on optimum. These lap times are not what we used to seeing from some of these drivers. We're expecting sort of mid. It is optimum. Okay, so maybe just feeling a little bit of pressure or something to form. But Luka Jacoman is certainly one of those drivers that's capable of very low 140s. So is Paddy Malik and quite a few of the other drivers here as well. Thircolini coming around for another lap. Will he be able to improve? He has dropped down to P8 by now, as other drivers have set their lap times. Time is up in this qualifying session. He improves by just over a tenth and moves up one position ahead of Leon Scarman.
Pete Chalmers at 41.6 to improve. He's got to find 3 tenths to get ahead of Fladdy Malik, who had a race to forget in that first race. Be looking to make amends for that in the second race, as well as Pete, who had that unfortunate incident with Scotty Rochford at Cheetah. So he'll be looking to find those 3 tenths, get ahead of Fladdy, and at least start next to Luca Giacomin and maybe follow him through.
Our top 3 drivers here, all of them had some unfortunate incidents in that first race, which will definitely be looking to make amends for. Oh, that is very close to an invalidation. Yep, he is invalid and into the pits. Stewie Matthews there in P6 with a 142 flat. He's going to be fuming that he couldn't quite manage that 41 there. Hopefully he can improve on his final lap. Zach Graham comes across the line. He does improve up into P3 and he just manages to pip P Chalmers at the end of qualifying there.
Beautiful. So just a reminder that those quality positions are per P13 down. So be Luca Giacomin in P13, Fladdy Malik P14, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so if we can ask race director if we can get a little flyby of the grid to have one last look at Split Beckett's liveries for this season. Certainly seen some beautiful liveries. This drone is absolutely rapid there. He's managed to slow down a little bit. Luca Giacomin, of course, with that pretty standard livery, nothing too special about it, but still the colors work very nicely. Larry Malik with the noodles, Zach Graham with an in-game livery, and Pete Viney, or Pete Chalmers there with his 5 Ziggin. McIntosh with his much improved livery. Stewie Matthews with one of my favorites, his Zero inspired warplane livery. Thircolini, certainly a nice looking livery there as well. There's Dion Scarman. What is that? It looks like, did he write the message in Braille on it, or?
I think that's Aboriginal themed, isn't it? Yep. Aboriginal theme, very nice.
Mitchell Bendyke with his customary ugly livery. Zikri there with an in-game livery, fortunately for him. yet. I'm not 100% sure who that is, but that Aston texture is quite nice. Brad Cook with his Pertec with the cat on the roof. One of the Milk team racing there. Pete Viney with his 5 Ziggin inspired Honda livery. Fantastic job there by him. James Gifford with the West Side Cycle Club. Scotty Rockford with his, I think it's one of his first liveries that he made, and he knocked that out of the park. Certainly one of the more striking liveries on the grid there. Steve Mario Hasnam with another one of the noodle liveries. Rustafani putting in a lot of effort with his livery. Yep, that's it took ages to decide on the tone of white, and I think he absolutely nailed it. Mark Bushel there with a fantastic livery. Stefano Ricciuti with his Italian-inspired Lamborghini, the Italian man in the Italian car doing Italian things. It's wonderful to see. Weatherburn with a beautiful Honda there. A Red Bull-inspired livery for Shady Samuel. Red Bull-inspired livery for his brother Ramesh Samuel. Lucas Burrs with that livery. Yep, certainly a livery. And finally, David Barker with the, yeah, that's also a livery.
All right, 20 seconds to go. I've got a bit of grid setup to do, obviously, with our custom grid that we've got for this race. So, bit of time to go and grab a drink if you need to do that still. As we wait.
Simeon, I'm not sure. I don't think it's a. Is it a Hello Kitty car, or is it just some other type
don't
of anime?
profess to being an expert in that regard, so I can't provide
Well,
any
that's not
specific
what
advice.
you said last night, Mr. Maloney.
I don't remember what I said last night.
I don't know. You were just standing about something. Hello Kitty is my life. I can't remember exactly what was said, but anyway, we shall move on. Needs more pink mini Simeon. Be sure to tune in on Saturday for the Pro Series, where Burrs has a similar livery, but a very, very nice twist on it. Not a big fan of the anime liveries, but what he's done with his Pro Series livery is certainly one of my favorites. Looks fantastic.
Bit more aggressive. And aren't they running ugly livery for Pro Series?
No, the competition
rookies.
for the ugly liveries. Yeah, that will be. Does the safety car forget that there's a reverse grip? Is he not supposed to wait for them to set up? But anyway, they are up and running.
Maybe they do it on the back straight. Second straight, whatever. I don't know.
Everybody has figured out where they need to be, and Tawfiq Moyen and Matt Powell is your front row here. So, I think interesting little drag race up to turn 1. The Beamer is no slouch in terms of acceleration, but I don't think it can quite match the Honda. You do, of course, have Pete Viney just behind them, and Scotty Rockford in that Lambo, which is one of the better launching cars. Could potentially see some fireworks coming into turn 1. Or turn 2.
I don't know if Tawfiq's had a pole position before, so I don't know how much experience these guys would have with a front of the grid start, because it's definitely very different. You're not responding to the car in front of you as much. You're responding to, the lights, and that's a very different kettle of fish.
Of course, with OOR, where we run a custom starting procedure, we do not use the widget. You have to keep it at 80 kilometers an hour, so it's an added thing to keep in mind. You need to keep that speed. You need to look at your speedometer while trying to figure out where the line is, where the race is going to start. So it certainly adds another dimension to what is already quite a stressful, tricky part of a race as the race gets underway. Hopefully he manages to not speed. Matty Powell, one of the teachers of the rookies, so he should be able to nail the start procedure. That is an Aston Martin that has decided.
What are you doing, Damiano?
Have a break. That is not ideal if he has had a disconnect or maybe a hardware failure. Certainly something is not working correctly. He is able to either get it out of the way or get moving by the time the cars arrive there. As the safety car peels off into the pit lane, Tawfiq Moyen will take control of this pack. Looks as though the Kyalami has gotten moving again. That's quite an unfortunate start to this race for him. Pedals, says Mr. Peabody. That is quite unfortunate. Hopefully they work for the rest of the race and he can still get some kind of result out of this. But in the meantime, at the front of the grid, Tawfiq Moyen leads Matt Powell and Pete Viney to the start of this race. We will have a delayed green light because of the reverse grid pole. I think we should start get going anytime now. We are officially racing. Moyen with a great launch. He's already clear of Matt Powell. Pete Viney up the inside. Romain Samuel makes it 3 wide. He gets ahead of Scotty Rockford. David Barker with a little bit of a send up the inside. Lucas Burst tries around the outside there. Nothing doing. 3 wide into turn 3. That's never going to end well. A little bit of a squeeze there on Richuti. He manages to keep it going. Stefani into Richuti, into Cook. Hopefully they can stay off track. Oh, most of them avoid the drama. There is a Bentley that has just avoided. Richuti there. Pete Chalmers also had a little bit of an incident towards the inside there. Not sure if it was related to the first incident, but I think we might look at a potential penalty for Stefani there at some stage, but the stewards will make that decision. Great start for Lucas Burst. He is up a couple of positions for Stefani, up the inside of Burst coming into the SS. Burst backs out of it and lets him go. He is now under pressure from Hasnam. As Burst is very twitchy coming through the second part of the SS up towards Leukop. Stefani piling the pressure on Rockford. Just needs to apply a little bit of patience, as well as we see Joe Coleman into the back of Hasnam. Hasnam into a wall. That is very unfortunate start to the race here for Hasnam. Hasnam is P2 in the championship, just behind Joe Coleman. So the two title contenders duking it out, and one of them losing out there, unfortunately for Hasnam. Tafik Moyen had a great start to this race. Fantastic start for Pete Viney as well, up into P2. Matt Powell, P3. Romain Samuel, David Barker, Shady Samuel, Aristofani up the inside of Rockford. He will lead the way ahead of Lucas Burst, but look at that Lambo go as they come towards turn 2. It's quite the lap 1.
Definitely, mate. Well called. And Lucas Burst gives Rialto Aristofani a bit of a kiss on the way into turn 1. They both come off badly, but I think Lucas got the better hand out of that sort of unfortunate incident. Amazing they both managed to keep it out of the wall, and Aaron McIntosh turns Lucas around. So bit of mess on lap 2 here as Rialto has a look around the outside of Sunset on Aaron. He's going to make that happen, I think. Whether he can make it happen on Zach Graham as well would be a mighty effort in the Porsche. Can't make it happen. Jacob Weatherburn again starting for the back of the grid up into P12, and Aaron McIntosh spins another car.
It's a bit of an unfortunate couple of corners there for McIntosh. Hopefully he doesn't feel Bushel a special price to benefit from all of those incidents. Weatherburn managed to avoid the drama this time. He is through, so he should be able to try and chase forward a little bit and potentially get a good result from this. But lucky that we didn't have a safety car there. Quite a few incidents throughout that lap. Lucas Burst certainly involved in some dramas. The safety car has been deployed.
Very late call for that one, but that'll bunch up the grid and give Taufik Moyen some time to chill out. He's done one race start now. Next one won't be as hard. He managed to pull out 1 and a bit seconds on Pete Viney as well, so unfortunately takes away his momentum, but let the rest of the grid settle down.
I think Tafik Moyen is in a fantastic position here to get his first win. Drivers behind him are fairly even on pace. I think the first driver with a legitimate pace advantage is Shady Samuel, and he still has 3 cars ahead of him to clear before he can start chasing down Moyen. So Moyen in a very, very strong position here to potentially get his first win.
Definitely looking forward to how he handles the rest of the race, especially, I mean, Shady as well is in the Aston, which is known for having a turbo that takes about 50,000 years to spool up, so I wouldn't expect him to be much of a threat at the start. He'd probably be more concerned about his brother right behind him in the Honda.
Yeah, I think in terms of the pace advantage, regardless of turbo spooling, Shady does have the benefit here. As we get a replay here of lap 1, see Lucas Burst very wide around the outside there, keeps nice and clean. Aristofani up the inside here. Burst just has to check up behind Cook there, and Aristofani just absolutely sends it up the inside. Not a particularly smart move there, unfortunately. You know, there's only so much space on track, and he was not on it. So causes a rather large incident there, and then gets involved in a couple of others as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit of impatience maybe showing there that he needs to just dial it back a couple of notches.
You managed to go 3 wide with 2 different sets of cars in the space of 3 corners. You're doing something pretty impressive. As we watch lap 2, as Lucas Burst takes the tow from Scotty Roger to get past Rialto as well. Moves across, doesn't realise Rialto's there, and then a bit of Kunos crash physics. Somehow Lucas doesn't hit the inside wall into turn 2 there. Safety
Yeah, I
car
think
coming
Lucas
in this
is
lap.
very blessed that inside wall sort of curves towards the apex.
It was
there,
very
otherwise-
well placed, wasn't it?
Yes. Get another view here of the Cook versus McIntosh incident. So McIntosh just a little bit optimistic, misjudges his braking, and then gets into the back of Burrs, and then a couple of corners later repeats the same type of issue, I think.
Definitely bit of learning there as we're going to watch it happen here now as Zach Graham at the front of the purple Audi. Rialto Ristofani absolutely goes a bit deep, and Aaron thinks there's a gap on the inside, but there just really wasn't.
I think Ristofani had to check up a little bit behind Zach Graham, going slightly slower than anticipated. McIntosh carried his speed through the apex there, and unfortunately there was a car right in the middle of the line he chose. So just an unfortunate incident there as we are about to get racing. Moyen taking an interesting line there. Compromises himself going into the final corner. Bitwini reacting well, but not getting the best run out of the final corner. Moyen should be safe going into turn 1. It looks as though Matt Powell got absolutely caught napping. He is nowhere to be seen. Behind him we have Barker under pressure from Shady Samuel coming into turn 1. Manages to be later on the brakes, hit the apex, and he is through. So his march towards the front of the pack continues. Great restart there from him. He must have absolutely nailed the reaction there. Ooh, Bitwini quite wide on the exit there. Hopefully that doesn't compromise him going into sunset.
Great restart from Shady there, and a nice little dive. Luca Giacomo with another lap 1 penalty, unfortunately. 10 seconds for causing a collision. I think that was with Demario Hasnam, the number 1 and 2 in the championship. Unfortunately getting together as he's putting some pressure on Mark Bushell here for P12.
Here we get a replay of it. In the back, Hasnam defending. The incident was just on the exit. They just carried a little bit of. It's exactly the same thing I did last night. It's so unfortunate where you just carry that little bit more speed on the exit, and you anticipate that the car is getting the same exit, and it just doesn't. Yeah, unfortunately sends him around into a wall, so fair cop on the penalty.
Definitely is. We saw Luca absolutely send it up the inside of Leo Cop on Mark Bushell. Probably just one of those poke the nose in, and Mark gave him the room to let the move stick as Shady is all over the back of, as Pete Viney and Matt Powell get together. I think Pete Viney went off at Cheetah there, so unfortunate for Matt Powell, and now Pete Viney has Shady Samuel all over the back of him.
This is one of those cases where I think Pete Viney would be smarter to not fight this too hard and try and follow Samuel away from Barker behind him, because Samuel certainly has the better pace when it comes to race pace. But it's always a tough choice as a driver to make whether you're going to battle it or not. Oh, that is Weatherburn, who very, very nearly spears off into the wall there, manages to save it. Viney carrying a lot of speed into sunset there, but Shady has absolutely nailed the exit. Will he be able to make something work here? Viney taking that sort of semi-defensive line, not completely committing to it, but compromising whatever Shady is able to do.
And all the while, Patrick Williams streaks away 3 seconds in the lead as these guys battle it out.
Defending is allowing Barker little looks at Shady Samuel as well. And with a great exit there to get a replay here of Viney's previous lap. Just a little bit wide coming out of Cheetah. Bit of dirty tires. Maybe Matty Powell just shutting the door ever so slightly while Viney was still there. But yeah, just an unfortunate incident there for both of them.
Eyeballs in chat saying Zach Graham's dropped from P10 to P23 for hitting the inside curb at Cheetah. That will happen if you hit the inside curb at Cheetah. Unfortunately, it is a cruel mistress.
It's a different type of mistress. It's one of those mistresses that you pay for to...
Dominatrix, I think, is the technical term for that.
No, it's what I was implying. I didn't want to be quite so blunt about it, but yeah, that's what I meant. And it looks as though Shady Samuel has centered up the inside of Pete Viney there. He's managed to stay ahead. Barker looking to benefit from it, but at the moment Viney has managed to settle in behind Samuel. Got a little bit wide there. Tips a wheel. He will stay to the inside there. Force Barker on the outside. Sunset is not an easy corner to generate an overtake around the outside. Certainly going to give it a go, but he tries to get a little bit of a switch back. Viney very smartly there, just slows it slightly on the apex, not allowing Barker an opportunity to get through. Good defensive driving there. Looks as though Ramesh Samuel in the background there is a proverbial cork in the bottle, so he will be facing a rather large amount of pressure from about 5 different drivers.
Definitely. A lot of cars that are waiting to take advantage of any mistake. And another cork in the bottle is probably Mark Bushell, who's got Ben Dash. As Scotty Rochford unfortunately loses it on the exit of Lear Cop. That is not a comfortable place to be pointing the wrong way. He's now going to wait for a lot of cars to go past as he rejoins the track safely. As Jacob Weatherburn up the inside of Aaron McIntosh makes that one work quite nicely. Very, very late move, but he's made it happen.
Yeah, and he'll certainly be looking to clear away from that Lexus as quickly as possible. So he's going to be under a lot of pressure. I think the Honda has good enough acceleration to just give him enough gap into turn 2. And the brakes of the Honda are certainly better than those of the Lexus. So I think he can rest easy that he has completed the move and focus forward towards Brad Cook and Ramesh Samuel ahead of him.
And Pete Viney has got Barker right on the back of him still. That battle is not going to go away anytime soon. Who else have we got that's battling? Matt Powell and Ben Dyche there. Hasnam, sorry. Yep.
Hasnam after, I think he had an unfortunate lap 1 instantly.
Yeah, with Luca.
Yeah, and of course Matty Powell, who got a bit of a turn around into the final corner. So these guys are looking for some redemption. Jacob Weatherburn has gone from P26 to P14 in lap 1. That is an absolute fantastic start from him there.
He's going for Matty Land's record of 8 cars in 1 corner.
Oof, that's very deep by Barker there. Manages to avoid Viney. Viney getting all kinds of sideways on the exit there. And Ramesh Samuel will be given some hope by that mistake there by Barker. Maybe he can catch up a little bit and get that slipstream, which will help him defend against Brad Cook behind.
Definitely. It's also Luca Giacomin's now right on the back of that Lexus as well. Aaron McIntosh with 10 seconds for causing a... And I would say that he's probably going to cop another one as Brad Cook goes very wide at Cheetah. Lets Jacob Weatherburn through. Taufik Moyen keeps doing fastest laps at the front of the field.
Jacob Weatherburn will be hoping to get a couple more overtakes like that where he doesn't have to do anything. But yeah, Moyen showing some absolute phenomenal pace up the front. JD Samuel not really able to dig into that gap just quite yet. Looks as though Giacomin went up the inside there of McIntosh as well.
Hasnam and Powell are still banging it out, less than a tenth between the 2 cars.
Speaking of that, they are side by side coming towards Sunset. Mono, E-Mono, a little bit of contact there, not quite necessary. Will Matty Powell stick it out? No, he backs out. Looks for that little switchback that'll give him a better exit. Hasnam is far enough ahead to not really worry about it. Powell making that BMW grille seem even bigger in the rearview mirror there. Just making Haslam think that something might happen, but still piling a lot of pressure onto the back of that Porsche.
Yeah, we'd expect to see Demario fly away from Matty Powell now as the P2 in the championship. He's got a Bendish in the sole McLaren of the top 21. to contend with. See some name fall down as
That's Weatherburn that has been murdered again after an absolutely fantastic recovery so far. He is going to be absolutely fuming. Does all the hard work and it only gets undone by a tiny mistake by Ramesh Samuel there.
didn't look like he got shunted too far, so hopefully he can get moving pretty quickly. We wait to see where he has come out. As I said, there's a pretty decent gap behind him to Mark Bushell, but I don't think he's managed to get out there. As we watch Lucas Burse get past Mohammed Zikri.
A lot of tight battles here, some unfortunate incidents at the moment. You can see a couple of penalties starting to show up on that leaderboard there. Ramesh Samuel, he has been under a lot of pressure throughout this race, and fortunately when he got overtaken there by Weatherman, just a small mistake that sent him around, but he doesn't have any time to reflect on that as he is still under immense pressure from Brad Cook, followed by Giacomo just behind that, and McIntosh in that intimidating Lexus not too far behind as well. Ramesh not the best exit out of the S's there. Cook is very close, but I think he's quite close enough to send well on the inside.
No, but he's forced Ramesh defensive, so Brad will be looking to get a better exit out of Leo Cop onto the back straight and through Mineshaft and have a think about a move into the braking zone. He's definitely got the slipstream.
Very late on the brakes there, but manages to pull it in towards the apex, stays ahead of Brad Cook. Certainly going to be frustrating Cook, and Cook is going to face a lot of pressure from Giacomo behind him as well. Giacomo with a great exit out of Cheetah, side by side. Ooh, Cook up the inside of Samuel there. That was quite a late move there, but makes it stick. Giacomo, a little bit of a squeeze there from Ramesh, almost contact there, but Ramesh is ahead of Giacomo again. Will he go defensive into turn one? Cook certainly will. Ramesh moves out of the slipstream late on the brakes. Giacomo, hopefully he can slow it down, as you see Twani there with the fastest lap. Cook gets the move completed, and now Ramesh will face all kinds of pressure from a very angry orange BMW. Up the inside there, an incident waiting to happen, but they manage to just make a tiny bit of contact and keep going. Ramesh keeps the inside here. McIntosh waiting to pounce on any sort of mistake made by these drivers. Honda acceleration is good enough there. Doesn't leave the nose up the inside there. And they manage to continue Linus. Very close by McIntosh there to make contact on the outside of the drum.
And Luca left him the minimum room on the exit of Sunset there into Clubhouse as McIntosh runs a little bit wide out of the S's there. So Luca goes for a move into Learcop, way too deep, sends him off the track, and he'll be behind McIntosh now, and thankfully I think for his perspective there's a pretty decent gap back to Bushell, 3 seconds behind.
Weatherburn receiving a penalty there. I don't think he will be around to serve that. He has left the racetrack and taken an early shower after a rather incident-filled couple of races. We go on board here with Chris Marshall right behind Dion Scarman. Shady Samuel setting a fastest lap. Gap to Tawfiq Moyen has come down to 3.7 seconds. So starting to edge closer towards that lead battle, or making it a lead battle. But yeah, Clifton Marshall here, he is the filling in a penalty sandwich with both Malik and Scarman having penalties around him. And Lucas Burrs said, I can do better than that, and he does a 40.9.
Unfortunately, Matty Powell suffering another hardware failure. We know before he was cursed beyond belief with those sorts of things for a while, and unfortunately it's starting to strike again. So sad to see you out, mate. You were doing really well up until then. And, Barker, Viney and Cook are having a battle for the ages here. Lots of cars line astern at the moment. Hasnam, Bendich and Bushell as well, also very close together. Ramesh Samuel with 10-second penalty for causing a collision. That'll be the Weatherburn incident we saw.
Fortunate there for him, he tried to keep his nose clean, and smallest of touches. Speaking of small touches there, Barker ever so politely nudging to the back of Pete Viney coming into Duke up there, but no harm done. As they come through the mine shaft,
Halfway through,
Brad
not
Cook
over yet.
applying pressure to the back of Barker, who is defending, who is attacking. Viney not quite defensive enough. Barker puts it up the inside. Viney makes contact and Cook decides, I will take that position. Not quite enough of a benefit to get past Barker as well. But he does gain a position and Viney loses out on 2.
Yeah, I think Viney. Oh, as we see car spinning around at the back there, Ramez Samuel, whose instant field race becomes a little bit more instant filled. Fortunately loses out there.
McIntosh was involved there. There was certainly contact. I'm not sure who was the instigator. But I'm sure we'll get a replay at some stage. Lucas Burst with a 40.5 on fairly dodgy tires and a damaged car with a lot of fuel. So that is a rather impressive lap time there by him.
We could probably get from the race director an idea of how much time's left in the race. That would be fantastic because I have no idea how long we've been going this race. 18 and 19 minutes to go. Yep, you're right, John.
There's still a lot of time to go.
Halfway through the race, Beckett's going out with a bang. Zach Graham, after his earlier incident, up into P15 from P23. Good little recovery from him.
Yeah, certainly, as we see Cook here on the back of Barker. Viney seems to be dropping off this little battle. He was potentially holding these two guys up, and he will be coming under pressure from Giacomo, not too far behind him. As we see David Barker there with a penalty on the previous lap, 10 seconds. So that would have been for the
Is that
incident.
for the overtake on Viney?
I
Maybe?
suspect it is, as he goes very wide in the Crocodiles and allows Brad Cook to get through. So Viney will be looking for some revenge in terms of an overtake, not in terms of contact. And he gets a great late break into the final corner. Good run. BMW does have fairly strong straight line speed, so I'm not sure he's quite close enough to make anything happen in turn 2 here.
No, Barker doesn't have to go defensive. So let's Viney poke the nose out and sort of show where he is. As Luca Giacomo has gotten past Aaron McIntosh in the Lexus. Viney with a much better exit out of turn 2. It's going to set Barker up into turn 5 here. And Luca Giacomo will be sitting back waiting for them to leave the slices of gaps to get his nose into and ahead of these two guys as well.
Of course, both Barker and Giacomo and McIntosh as well, all with 10-second penalties. So, as we see Giacomo very close on the back of Viney there, manages to pull out of it early enough to avoid an incident. Will he try to poke up in the inside of the SS? He does not. He pulls out of it. Viney a little bit compromised there. Giacomo with a great exit. He is side by side already. Viney will have the inside into the hairpin, but he is a little bit behind already. He still keeps the move there on the inside. Fantastic driving there by both of them, but Giacomo with the little switchback, and that will allow him to have the inside coming down into the mine shaft. Viney in a tricky position here where it's very easy to just understeer off the track. He manages to keep it on track. Giacomo semi-defensive there. Viney shifts back in behind him, and that is the overtake done by Giacomo.
Nicely done, nicely set up. Had Viney going defensive through as Viney takes a huge chunk of curb out of Cheetah. Had Viney going defensive through Clubhouse, through the S's, really set him up on a couple of poor exits to get past us. And now McIntosh will see if those Lexus V8 Go things will take advantage, and Aaron McIntosh cops another 10-second penalty for the mess on lap 2 as he pokes his nose up the inside, but nothing doing.
Just behind them as well, Hasnam is slowly but surely catching up, making his way up the field again. As we said, had a bit of an unfortunate lap 1, so he's looking to make amends. Bushel just behind him, under pressure from Stefani. Stefani has shown a little bit of a lack of patience at certain stages, so hopefully he's able to keep it clean. Lucas Burst just behind them on a recovery drive as well. And just up at the front of Big Million, that gap to Shady Samuel, only 2.6 seconds, so it's not coming down quickly, but it is coming down. And be interesting to see if there's enough time for Samuel to catch up and do something about that. That's a great run on McIntosh coming up to do top Porsche is very good under brakes. Will he send it up the inside? He certainly will. Not quite far enough alongside. McIntosh will get a good run and he will be on the outside. And a little bit of a squirm from Lexus there. Haslam may have done enough to get but the Lexus straight line speed makes it possible for him to stay alongside. Will Haslam be able to go around the outside of Crocodiles? Squeezes McIntosh from the inside a little bit. Nowhere for McIntosh to go there. They make contact side by side through Cheetah. Surely not. No space next to Alexis for that. They managed to make it work. That's gonna as Rustafani into the back of Bushel in the background there. Burst trying to benefit from Haslam getting pushed a little bit on the outside there. Will he be able to drag past Porsches in the slipstream of that?
Seen this story before. Lucas gets past Haslam and that Honda way too fast for the Porsche in a straight line. Is he going to send up the inside of McIntosh into turn 2?
He will.
He's got the room to do it, but McIntosh closes the door on him up the hill into turn 5. And Rialto is very, very interested in the back of Haslam's car. This is probably going to be messy if past history serves us well.
Because we're applying the pressure to McIntosh there, just making that Honda as big as possible. Certainly spooked McIntosh a little bit going into sunset there on the outside of Clubhouse here. McIntosh goes a little bit wide, and there's another penalty for McIntosh there, a stop go 10 for causing a collision. So I think the stewards have had enough with the little taps and said maybe go and sit for a couple of seconds just to calm down. Rustafani on the back of Haslam there. Bushel, 3 Porsches. Do they go into one? They are trying to make it work. Bushel tries around the outside there, gets a decent enough exit, but I think Rustafani has done enough. A little bit of a squeeze. Haslam right onto the back of that Lexus again. Of course, that Lexus is, for all intents and purposes, out of this battle. He does, however, squeeze Haslam on the
absolute send from Haslam there, and McIntosh wagging the tail on the exit there as well. And Rialto Rustafani, McIntosh comes into the pits to serve his penalty. Probably wise to get out of that mess as Haslam goes incredibly deep into the last corner. He's gone off to another racetrack on that.
Scani, a penalty for McConsey while he can't door bang a little bit. Mate, there was unfortunately a little bit more than just some simple door banging, and a few too many incidents for the stewards liking, I would say.
Yeah, when you get 3 10-second penalties in a single race, you probably need to get a bit of an escalation, and he has left the server, unfortunately.
Yep, which is fair enough, I guess, as we get another view here of an incident with... This is the one that we saw just in the background, but couldn't quite get the rest of it.
Yeah, can't see that.
A little bit unfortunate there, but yeah, as we said, it's not one incident or so, it's a bit of a compounding pressure from the stewards. They must have felt at some stage they need to do something about that. But yeah, JC pointing out Lucas Burr is very good at forcing mistakes. He's certainly he's a very patient driver when he's making his way through the field, sometimes to his detriment, but in most cases he is so patient and very good at making other drivers make mistakes by just piling on the pressure. And of course the driver feeling that type of pressure now is Pete Viney. Speaking of the devil, Lucas Burr tries around the outside, he's alongside enough, gets a great exit. Pete Viney surely will back out of this, and Burst gets a fantastic overtake done, and both of them decide to go a little bit wide. Pete Viney even wider than Burst, and just up at the front we have 1.6 seconds between P1 and P2, with, I'm gonna guess, maybe about 11 minutes remaining, maybe a little bit less.
Action-packed. Feel like I've been talking for about 2.5 hours now, so don't know how you feel, Paige. You must be a little
I have
bit
been
tired.
talking for 2.5 hours, so... Yeah, if we can potentially just get a quick update on the time remaining, so we can start to plan this
10 minutes, you had it spot on with 11, I reckon.
That's a pretty good guess, even if I have to say so myself. And Samuel is slowly but surely putting the pressure on Moeen. He's getting into that range where he might potentially appear in the mirror every now and then. Moyun will have surely seen that gap coming down lap by lap and going to start sweating a little bit. But he has shown that he can handle some pressure, so let's see how this race ends towards this final 10 minutes.
Absolutely. It's also one thing to catch up, and Shady is metronomically quick. You've also got to get past, and Taufik, I don't know, I reckon if it's your first win, you make his life as hard as possible. You've got 14 seconds to the guy behind as well. So even if you battle a little bit, you're not at risk for P3 unless something really bad happens. Shady's made up a couple of tenths now as Lucas Burst and Luca Giacomo, the two fastest guys in this split, are about to do battle. Honda versus BMW.
Two fastest guys on screen. Ooh, Stefani is a little bit quiet there. Pete Viney seems to have benefited from that. Hasnam is all over the rear of Viney at the moment. Viney goes defensive into the final corner. Compromises exit a little bit, but I think the Honda will have the legs on that Porsche. You can see that acceleration of the Honda. It's so frustrating to follow it. Don't think the Porsche will be able to get alongside into turn 1, but Viney goes defensive. Either way, Stefani just behind these guys. He'll be looking to benefit from whatever happens between them. Bushell not too far behind, within striking distance for any small incidents. Still a lot that can happen in the final couple of minutes. Ooh, Asnam just pokes nose up the inside there, tries to spook Viney. Seems to have done it mildly successfully, but not quite as much as he would have liked there. Stefani can't get much closer than that to the back of a car.
Yeah. Pete Viney, the Honda cork and a bottle of Porsches.
I think Sean Miller just had a small orgasm.
Sean, come in. I think he's at an event tonight, unfortunately. Pete Viney has a very messy exit from the S's there, and Demario Hasnam has the outside for Leocop. Breaks deep to go around the outside. Pete Viney gives him the space to do so, and then lets the Honda legs absolutely just yeet off the exit of the corner. He'll have the inside for Mineshaft, so Demario will have to hold on tight around the outside there. He's going to keep the inside line for the braking for the braking zone here. Makes it work. Pete Viney gives him the room to do so, and Rialto Ristofani tries to take advantage, loses out to Mark Michel in the process. Very, very lucky for Pete Viney. He didn't go around that because collision physics in this game can be a little bit entertaining as Ristofani goes into the back of Michel as well.
Yeah, definitely needs to just calm down a little bit.
Shady is well and truly in slipstream range of Taufik now.
It's funny, I don't think anybody is criticizing too much, mate. I think it was cleared out. Shady Samuel, as Tom pointed out, right on the back of Moyin. He will have, I would say, maybe about 7.5 minutes remaining. Oh, 7 minutes, sorry. I think there's enough time for him to potentially force an error, but he is not an overly aggressive driver. He will certainly take his time to get a move done. It's a good exit out of Leocop there, but look at the Honda acceleration versus the Aston's turbos. They're still spooling up. Any time now they'll be spooled up.
There we go.
Start closing the gap a little bit. But Moyen has done enough there. Shady Samuel very late on the brakes. He will get a great exit here. Now a little bit of a drift on the apex there. He sticks behind. Having been in this position, I can tell you how frustrating it will be for him.
And Pete will have all the nerves as well. As we said, this will be, if he can hold on, his first win in the Sprint Series. That's a mighty achievement for anyone. So, kind of hoping he holds on, but looking forward to this battle and seeing how it evolves. Lucas Burst still on the back of Luca Giacomo back in P5 and P6 as well.
Having done the endurance race here with Shady Samuel in the Aston, knowing how consistent he can be just doing laps within a tenth of each other, like a metronome as you said, I think Moyen will certainly do well to keep him behind him for the remaining laps of this race. I can't give him advice on how to pass a Honda. I can certainly give him advice on how to pass another Aston, and that's just murdering him into the final corner.
Yeah, we got Mark Bushell right on the back of Pete Viney as well, and Rialto on the back of Mark Bendock as well in the McLaren. I think Rialto will be expecting a couple more penalties after his quite messy end to
Samuel,
lap whatever it was.
very deep into the hairpin, manages to get it slowed down. He's trying, he's certainly trying, but Moyen placing the car where it needs to place it. We have some, oh, that's a bit of a send there by Bushel, quite aggressive. Viney very compliant there. Lets him stick it up the inside, but they are side by side coming into the S's. Both of them very late on the brakes, both of them off the track. And eventually allow Mitchell Bendyke here to get a move done on Pete Viney coming into the aircraft. Viney, is he alongside enough to still stick it in the inside? He is not. Mitchell Bendyke is clear in that horrific purple livery.
Yep, and now Pete Viney is absolutely being set up by Rialto here now, who hopefully has calmed down a little bit. But Pete Viney is right on the back of that McLaren. He'll be looking for a send up the inside, but Rialto goes right round the outside, doesn't manage to keep the speed to keep that sort of wall of death around, and tucks in behind for Cheetah in the last corner.
He's certainly going to apply a fair amount of pressure to Viney. Viney should rest easy in the knowledge that the rest of Viney is most likely expecting a little slap on the wrist. So I think he won't be defending too hard here, especially seeing what has happened before. I say that and he goes defensive immediately, so what do I know?
He knows that Porsche can go super deep on the brakes.
Viney gets so close to the back of the other cars, it leaves him no room to react if something should happen. He manages to stay clear that time around. Viney is going defensive, coming down to Sunset. Ooh, very close to the back of him there. Certainly the quicker driver of the two at the moment, but Viney doing what he needs to do, placing that car in all the right places, not allowing Rastafani single cap to get through even when making small mistakes.
He's really struggling to get the S's right. I think his tyres are screaming enough, and Rialto takes that invitation to sneak up the inside and take the lead into Leocop. And as we talk, Lucas Burst has gotten past Luca Giacomin for P5.
Yes, he has David Barker to chase down 1.7 seconds, even though he is technically ahead given the penalty that Barker still has hanging over his head. But I'm sure Burst will still try and get that done on track, as we see Zach Graham and Ramesh Samuel here almost side by side coming through Crocodiles. Zach Graham trying to get that overtake done. Ramesh does well to keep it around the outside. They both live to fight another day and keep this battle going.
Zach Graham, the lead AM driver in this race, ahead of Zikri. They are fighting for the championship. I think Ahmed Zikri's probably got it wrapped up now if things stay as they are, but Ramez goes very late in the defense into turn 2.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if somebody in chat can do some quick math in terms of the results between Peclini and Zikri. I think it's going to be close. I mean, Peclini is still in the points at the moment, so he is still scoring a couple of points, but it's going to be very interesting to see how that championship battle plays out between the two of those.
He's not going to take too many penalties to jump him up the field, Damiano, unfortunately. Only probably Stefano's penalty this stage.
At the moment, but I'm not sure if Richuti will open that gap ever so slightly more. He only needs another second or so. Again, here we go on board with Samuel. They are crossing the line with 1 minute remaining. This is the final lap. Moyen seems to have done enough to potentially keep his first win. Samuel certainly not close enough coming into turn 2, but just making that car a little bit wider, making Tofik think something might happen, but he seems cool, calm and collected under pressure at the moment.
Yeah, don't need to defend yet, Tofik. He's not close enough, don't worry about it. And he's realistically only got 2 more chances, which if you get Sunset right, should be okay.
The type of situation where you wish you could potentially turn off your rear view mirror so you do not see that big blue Aston over the rear end. Coming to the final couple of corners of this race, Moyen has not put a foot wrong. Eddie Samuel has done all the right things to move up the field and try and get a win, but will Moyen make it easy for him? I certainly think he will not. Samuel tries around the outside. That's very brave. Will he get a good enough exit here to potentially get a run down into Crocodiles? Not quite enough. He's not close enough to get anything done. Also not risky enough to send one from this far back. Moyen only has another 3 or 4 corners to go to seal his first win in OOR. Does the correct line through Crocodiles. Only Cheetah and where to go. Cheetah always a tricky one, especially when you're under pressure. He manages to get that right. Samuel with a great exit there. Can he potentially get a little bit of a drag race going here? He gets a good exit there. But Aston Martin just does not have the legs, and Moyen will win this by the narrowest of margins. Fantastic race by him. Great stuff by Samuel there to close the gap down as much as he did, but just not quite enough on the day. And Brad Cook will cross the line in P3 after a nice clean race from him as well.
Yep, and it looks like there was a bit of an incident between Burst and Barker as well. They've fallen behind Luca Giacomin and Demario Hasnam. So there's a Mitchell Bendich goes very, very wide as we head into Cheetah for the last time for those chasing down Mark Michel, who again coming from the back of the field, finishing P8. That is a mighty effort. Barker with 20 seconds of penalties as well, so probably lose a couple of these ones.
Yeah, Stefani running up the top 10. Of course, there's still a penalty, so we should get a replay here. Barker on Burst, just a little bit too late on the brakes on the inside of Burst. Giacomin does well to avoid any potential impact there. Bertucci will cross the line. He has done enough. Bertolini goes wide there. That's going to allow Scarman through on him. I think Bertolini has had a bit of a unfortunate second race here after a good first race, but yeah, he will be the final driver to cross the line, and that is the end of the Pacific, or Asia Pacific region for OOR Sprint Series this season 11. What a season it's been.
Yep. Oh, and it's wet. Of course it is. Yeah, that was Split Becketts doing Split Becketts things, I reckon. That was an hour of almost non-stop action up and down the field. Fantastic to see Taufik Moyen take victory in race 2. Shady Samuel P2 less than 2/10 behind. And Brad Cook a little bit further down the field in P3. And Pro-Am, Taufik, as we said, P1, Mark Michel P2, Mitchell Bendich P3. And in the AM class, Zach Graham P1, fantastic from him. Mohamed Zikri P2 and Damiano Theccolini P3. And S. James in the silver class.
As mentioned, that is the end of Asia Pacific Sprint Series for Octane Online Racing. We do have the EU and North American splits still coming up a little bit later. And of course, don't forget on Saturday we have the final round of the Pro Series. Some of the fastest drivers in the world competing for victory at Kyalami as well. So don't forget to tune in for that. And we will also have the prize giving for the ugly livery competition, as well as the lucky draw for Patreon members of the OOR. If you're not part of OOR yet, join the Discord, get involved. You don't have to race if you don't want to. You can commentate, you can steward, you can take part in any way you like. If you want to make some pizza with pineapple on it, don't join because you will get kicked, but I will have some because it is very tasty, as I already ordered one. Tom, thank you very much for joining me again. That was fantastic. I enjoyed this whole season commentating with you. It's been fun all throughout.
Definitely, thanks, mate, and massive effort from you to do back-to-back races. That's it was a lot of action. So, well done to you. Thank you again. It was a pleasure commentating with you as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you, chat. Couldn't do this without you. Well, wouldn't do this without you, literally, because it would be no point. But thank you very much for the regulars joining in. Anybody who's new, don't forget to like, subscribe, and we hope to see you on Saturday for the Pro Series, and then enjoy your New Year's break. Merry Christmas if you choose to celebrate that. Happy New Year. You need to celebrate that one, and we will see you next year. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.